Joe A is walking his lost car with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase Banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
How was what is today? I always forget what day it is.
Hump day.
Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Good Wednesday. So this morning, as everybody knows, I'm on this fitness journey. So
me too.
Every morning, I get up at 5:30 and I go to the gym. I mix it up between weights and cardio. So today was going to be a cardio day. I'll get up, I look outside the window, I see the snow coming down sideways. I climb back in the bed. Wife is like, yes, good. We're not going to the gym. I said, correct. So I went to sleep. Then I finally got up and I saw what the snow did. And I had to shovel the driveway because obviously I had to get to work. It wasn't that light, fluffy snow that we had on Sunday that you could just move out the way. This was that wet, heavy snow. So I definitely got my workout in and didn't mean to.
Yeah, see, I've learned the fall is the first full year as being a homeowner. So I learned in the fall that I'm not going to rake leaves until every leaf is off my tree. Because I busted my ass one day. All the leaves, I was like, I felt pretty good. Went to work in the morning, came back to my house at lunch. Remember, I posted that picture. The whole yard was blanketed again. Learned my lesson there. I'm using the lessons I learned during the fall here in the winter. Not going to shovel the snow till I get home tonight because I saw the neighbor across the street. He was out shoveling his, driveway this morning, making the judgment eye contact with me. Like, why aren't you taking care of your? Because you're the idiot that's shoveling snow while it's snowing. That doesn't make any sense. That's like taking a pipe is just filling your whole room with flooding water, and you're taking a bucket and just trying to get it out of there. I mean, there was more water coming on. Just wait till all the snow is done, or just let it keep raining a little bit. It might wash some of that stuff away.
Yeah, true. I got a question for the listeners. Does anybody out here have an electric snowblower? I'm curious how they work because they seem to be a lot
blower
cheaper.
Or the chute,
chute.
Yeah, it's a couple people on my block have that as well. I also feel poor when I look across.
Well,
there
I
shovel.
I saw one on sale at good old Walmart for $200, and I was like, man, would an electric one really do the job, or do I need a good old American gas guzzler to get it done? And those are like 3 or 4 times as much as
I always
electric.
get the battery operated. My friends make fun of me because they're hardworking Americans and they like that needs gas. If it doesn't have gas in it, it doesn't work right. So so see, Gary Toole Jr. He says, "Don't do it, Kev. Electric is trash."
But it's so much cheaper.
So much cheaper.
Yeah, it's $200 versus like $600.
Just pay a neighbor kid.
That's what I need to do.
Just pay some neighbor kid. Come take care of it.
Because today was not fun. Sunday was fine. There was no problem on Sunday. But today, that wet, heavy snow, not fun. Not fun at all.
Golfing last Thursday, sweating actually, golfing. And now we've had a couple snow drops since then. But now excited for today's show. Talk a little college basketball coming up around the corner. Dayton Flyers in action coming up later on tonight. Norm Grevey, former Dayton Flyer, he'll join us later on in the show as well. Excited to catch up with him again every Wednesday. Moving forward, he'll be spending the final hour of the show with us again, talking all things Dayton Flyer soup. So excited to catch up with him coming up later on in the program as well. Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch. He gave us a lot of time yesterday. We talked some Buckeye hoops, and although there was a lot of interesting stuff to talk about when it comes to Ohio State basketball, of course, how the team's performing right now, the kind of the vibes that the fan base has when it comes to Chris Holtmann and the job that he's doing. Some of the key transfers, from a Dayton perspective, from a local perspective, they got Tanner Holden, who was a star player at Wright State that led them to that tournament win last year in the first four. And then, of course, Sean McNeil, who a lot of fans in the area got a chance to watch when he played over at Sinclair. That was a kid, Bob Huggins and a lot of big name coaches were, showing up, was it Building 8? I can't remember. Schlemmer was always highlighting what building they played all their games in. I know they don't have that right now, but nonetheless, pretty cool kind of watching him perform at Ohio State nonetheless. And he's been a big time asset to them. But the takeaways from our conversation with Adam Jardy yesterday basically prefaced around Bronny James and his future, and talking about LeBron James' son Bronny listing Ohio State in his list of final 3 schools. Found that unique and interesting, but then also hearing Adam give his thoughts on Bronny, which we'll get to. I'll have the audio around the corner, and then also how hard is Ohio State pushing to land Bronny James? That's the other question, because it sounds like this is not your typical type of recruitment. Lots of audio and opinions coming on that here around the corner. But I wanted to open up with this. The NFL, by the way, Mel Kiper put out his first NFL mock draft. And again, because the Cincinnati Bengals have all of a sudden turned into winners, that is no longer the official sound of January for sports talk shows in Ohio. So kudos to the Bengals for pushing off draft talk at least a little further into the first couple months of the year. But Mel Kiper did put out his first mock draft. And although it doesn't impact the Bengals or the Browns for this matter, there is a Buckeye involved. And we'll talk about C.J. Stroud coming up around the corner as well. But all right, let's open up with this, Kev. The AP Awards finalists were announced.
Okay.
And my big thing is like, it's one thing, like some of these, we kind of had an idea of who some of the favorites were going to be. We talked about this on the Keith Byers show earlier this afternoon. But, there's a lot of categories. NFL MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Assistant Coach of the Year. My goodness. As Keith Byers said earlier, the trophy generation. There's enough to go around. But, of course, you have all of these subcategories, all of these awards, finalists announced. And it's never who's a finalist. It's always who's not on the list. That's just how it's the top 25. It's not about the top 25. It's about who's not in the top 25.
Others receiving votes.
Yep. College football playoff Final Four. It's not about the Final Four. It's about who's not in the Final Four. Like, that's just kind of how this goes a little bit. But NFL MVP finalist announced. Not really a whole lot of surprises as far as the finalists are concerned, except for one name. This has basically been labeled a quarterback award, Kev. However, Justin Jefferson with the Vikings, he cracks the list of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 finalists for MVP. Josh Allen with the Bills, Joe Burrow with the Bengals, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Eagles, and wide receiver Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. You hear those finalist names. Wide receiver, I feel like they kind of just threw a bone there. He had a great season, by the way. That's no disrespect to Justin Jefferson, but we all know this is going to a quarterback, right? And the question is, which quarterback? I know we've touched on this already throughout the week. I say Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts' name is in there as well. KB said earlier he believes it should be Jalen Hurts Award. Bengals fans will say it should be Joe Burrow's. Up until last Sunday, Josh Allen's name was in the conversation. I know really these playoff games shouldn't count towards that, correct?
Yeah, it's a regular season award.
It's a regular season award. So your thoughts, you hear those finalist names.
Patrick Mahomes II will be hoisting the MVP trophy. He's the MVP of the league. He's the most valuable. Look at the stats, back it up. Their record backs it up. He's the best player in the league. He's going to be the MVP of the league. But Justin Jefferson, he deserves some consideration, as well as Tyreek Hill. But we all know that this award is all about the quarterback. So I agree with you. They're kind of like throwing Justin Jefferson a bone just to be nominated or be up there with the rest of the quarterbacks. That proves how much of a great season he had just to be a part of those names. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, again, I know I've heard analysts throughout the day say, well, his being out a couple games due to injury, he played 15 of the 17 games. I don't know if that should necessarily count him out of it. The season he has had has been fantastic. However, I have no problem with the majority of the attention going to guys like Burrow, Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. I think it's Patrick Mahomes' award to lose at this point. Offensive Player of the Year. KB brought up a good point as well. The 3 finalists for Offensive Player of the Year, 3 names as finalists here are also part of the MVP conversation. So if you pick the MVP, it's kind of hard not to pick them as the Offensive Player of the Year as well. But Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. Those are your finalists for Offensive Player of the Year. Your Offensive Player of the Year is who? By default, I want to say Patrick Mahomes because he can't be the MVP without being the Offensive Player of the Year. But the guy that I get most excited to watch is Tyreek Hill. Like, I get excited. So not on the list. Yeah, no, he's on the list for Offensive Player of the Year. Tyreek Hill is. I must have missed that one. My apologies. Okay. But he's exciting for, you can put him at punt returner, kick returner, bubble screen. He can take it to the house. He can get over the top of the defense. Like, whenever he's on the field, it's a big play waiting to happen. So just for excitement factor, he will get some love from me. But overall, you got to give it to Mahomes if you're going to give him the MVP as well.
Yeah, I guess too. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Patrick Mahomes, I kind of highlighted as my offensive player of the year as well as the MVP as far as that's concerned. But when you think about the offensive player of the year too, if it can't be a quarterback, Justin Jefferson, 1,800 receiving yards. I mean, that is just absolutely unbelievable, especially when you have Adam Thielen and you have Dalvin Cook and you have a very productive offense.
TJ Hawkinson.
Yes, and honestly, regardless of your opinion of Kirk Cousins, he's not an elite quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's putting up 1,800 receiving yards. He doesn't have Burrow throwing in the ball. He didn't have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. So that's what makes that even more interesting nonetheless. Yeah, the list that the ESPN had sent me, the AP, it didn't have him on there. So that's why I didn't highlight him. But I agree. He should be on that list. And he is, as I think he's even more deserving of it than Jefferson because, I mean, he had Tua throwing him the ball, which Tua had good numbers, but his numbers continued no matter who was throwing him the ball. That's what made Tyreek Hill so, entertaining as well. Defensive player of the year. Tell me if ESPN missed one on this too, Kev, but Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, Micah Parsons, 3 finalists.
Bosa, dude. Bosa.
Quitter.
Easy.
No, I'm joking. I like Nick Bosa. Easy.
Easy Bosa. Bosa dominated all season long. Parsons had that run, like what, the first 8 weeks of the regular season where he was dominant, had a little dip for his standards, but I would give it to Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is still playing in the playoffs. The team's playing an NFC Championship game. He's a vital cog in that defense out there. So they got the best defense in the league. So it probably should go to the best defensive player on the best defensive team in the league.
Yeah, Nick Bosa, 18.5 sacks. Chris Jones with the Chiefs. The Chiefs get so much attention for what they do on the offensive side of the ball. We forget that they're not a shutdown defense, but at the same time, they have dominant pass rushers. They have guys that can get to the quarterback. They have some decent secondary guys, but Chris Jones up front does a good job. Micah Parsons is going to win a Defensive Player of the Year award at some point in his career, especially if he continues on this trajectory. I wanted the Browns to trade up to grab him in that draft years ago. I was angry that they didn't, but nonetheless, Micah Parsons at least went to one of the teams I like, my side piece team. So there's that. Comeback player of the year. This one was kind of difficult for me, Kev. Again, we don't know the winners of these yet, but these are the finalists for each and every category. If you're just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Comeback player of the year, your finalists, Kev: Saquon Barkley with the Giants, Christian McCaffrey with the 49ers, and Geno Smith with the Seahawks.
Man, there's storylines.
Yes.
So many storylines. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey coming off of the injuries and being with the Carolina Panthers, and then miraculously he gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and he's back to his mode self. He's no longer hurt. He's out here balling out of control. Then you look at Saquon Barkley, the injuries that he's sustained and the terrible offensive line that he was running behind. They get a new offensive coach. He's playing like Saquon Barkley coming out of Penn State, but I don't think there's a better story to tell than Geno Smith being a backup for multiple seasons behind a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You plug him into that, basically that same offensive system with the Seahawks, and he helps guys his team to the playoffs. So I would go with Geno Smith.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with any of these. This is one of those few. Well, I mean, all of these guys are quality candidates for all of these awards, but this one in particular, you can't go wrong with any of these. That's for sure. By the way, we're live. Go to Facebook, the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, or ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. You could watch the show and interact with us that way, and you could chime in who you think the winner of these categories should be. For instance, William Yelly on Facebook. He says Daboll is Coach of the Year. Mahomes is the unanimous MVP. He thinks that Hurts' injury cost him the MVP. And I agree that it did. I don't think that it should. I mean, he still played 17 games. He played in 15 of those. And they dominated so much early on that division was pretty much theirs. I mean, they took care of business early. Matt Sturgeon, shout out to Matt. He says Mahomes, MVP, more yards, more touchdowns, and less weapons. Pretty simple. William Elliott believes Chris Jones, by the way, is nowhere close to Bosa's level. So there's that. But so he also says Christian McCaffrey. William Yelly on Facebook thinks Christian McCaffrey should be the comeback player of the year. Great storyline. And of course, all the trade value. Remember when they traded for him? I was like, yeah, that's way too much to give up for a dude that's just injury prone. But of course, he's a little banged up heading into this weekend, of course. But he's been able to stay healthy and he's gotten better. And he's just been another weapon. We talked about, man, how in the world does their head coach go through, how does he sit there in Shanahan and go through 3 quarterbacks in 1 year and still be a game away from getting back to the Super Bowl? Well, again, regardless of who your quarterbacks are, if you just provide weapon after weapon after weapon, and you have Deebo Samuel, and you have Ayuk, and you have all these dudes, and Christian McCaffrey and Kittle, I mean, my goodness. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. It makes it a little easier in the transition process for these quarterbacks, that's for sure. So I like Christian McCaffrey, but he's one of many great weapons there. I'm glad he's healthy, glad his talent's being spotlighted on a good team. But I'm going to say Saquon Barkley. Geno Smith, by the way, there's no short of him. But Saquon Barkley, very similar to Christian McCaffrey, able to stay healthy. But now that he stayed healthy and he was able to be a star for the team that drafted him and to be a part of the come up for the team that drafted him. And you take him off this team, they're not a playoff team. They're not a play. I mean, you could almost say he's MVP. I'm not putting him in there. Don't worry. Relax, folks. But honestly, he's that good. You take him off that team. Like, I think you take Christian McCaffrey off, 49ers still very, very good.
Yes.
Geno Smith, you could take him off there. They take a significant, dip. Don't get me wrong. But I think that Saquon Barkley had a MVP caliber season, but we know running backs aren't going to get that type of treatment. But I like Barkley for comeback player of the year.
Fair, very fair.
And he might get paid a lot.
He's going to get franchise.
He's
going to get franchise, and then somebody will trade for him.
Don't trade. Actually, the Giants could afford to pay him, though, because Daniel Jones, as we talked about, he's not going to be that $50 million a year quarterback. When you have a $50 million a year quarterback, you can't spend a ton of money on the running backs. The Giants might be able to find a way to balance that out, but we'll see what they end up choosing to do. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Kev, Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, or Garrett Wilson. Offensive Rookie of the Year. What say you?
Man, do I want to be a homer here and root for the Buckeyes? I'm not going to go full homer mode, but I'm not going to go prisoner of the moment mode either with Brock Purdy. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker III, former running back from Michigan State and Wake Forest, because he was consistent all season long, and he was a cog in the wheel that helped the Seahawks get to the playoffs. Garrett Wilson was out there with Joe Flacco, played a little bit. Mike White played a little bit. Zach Wilson played a little bit. He still put up crazy numbers. He got up over 1,000 yards receiving in his rookie year, but I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker.
So, big fan of Kenneth Walker. In fact, when he went to the Seahawks, I'm like, that's killer right there. And by the way, I thought the Seahawks were a bum roster. And then you start watching them between Lockett and then Kenneth Walker emerging, and then they have a good tight end that they were able to get in the Metcalf. They have I think the Seahawks, that's a very underrated roster. I don't think that, and I think because they're underrated, Kenneth Walker, though, makes them even more respectable. But the thing is, running backs come into the league and have success like this a lot. That's not to take anything away from him, but that's the one position that you can come in and be an all-pro, like almost right off the bat. And we're seeing that with Kenneth Walker. Brock Purdy, prisoner of the moment, as you I'm assuming that's what you were talking about with him. I have nothing bad to say about Brock Purdy, but I also kind of touched on this earlier. It's a lot easier to be Brock Purdy when you have a great offensive line, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time, by the way, blocking for you. Very good run game, embarrassment of riches in the pass game, and one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the game. There has never been a player more padded and protected than Brock Purdy, and to his credit, he's not holding him back. Right. So I have no problem with
better.
Yeah, he's making him better. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I think that it's easy to be Brock Purdy. It's easier to be him than it is some of these other rookie quarterbacks who went to bad situations. So I like Brock Purdy, but I'm going to say Garrett Wilson with the drama at the quarterback position and everything.
One of us had to do it.
My goodness. I mean, for him to just go out there and to have so many different quarterbacks throwing to him and to be a number one target right off the bat like that is pretty dang impressive. And good for the Jets, because they're going to have a elite weapon moving forward on a rookie deal. And we've seen when you find that weapon in the wide receiver unit on a rookie deal, you end up in a situation like the Bengals where you have all of your rookie money on your quarterback and your two best targets in the passing game. And now all that money could be distributed elsewhere. That's how you become good and become good in a hurry. And I think the Jets right now have quite a few weapons that they're going to be in good shape moving forward. I like Garrett Wilson. Was Chris Olave not on that? Why would he not be on that list?
I don't know.
Because I feel like they're the same. 1A, 1B.
Maybe Brock Purdy took it from him.
Damn, Brock Purdy. Taking quarterbacks' jobs and guys' slots on the Offensive Rookie of the Year list. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq Woolen, all great players, but I think this one's pretty easy.
It's a two-man race. It's Sauce Gardner and Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm going to go with Sauce.
Yeah, Sauce, by the way, I'm going to pick him and take back all the horrible things I said about him in college. It's like, oh, man, no one scored a touchdown on him. I'm like, he played in the American Conference. Come on. He wouldn't shut down SEC wide receivers or anything. But no, this dude is for real. I'm a big-time believer. And the Jets just, again, dominant weapon on offense. They drafted, of course, with Garrett Wilson, and now they have Sauce Gardner on the defensive end. some of the most key positions you have to get talent at, and they've drafted them, and they're on rookie deals. I mean, the Jets have money to spend. That's why Aaron Rodgers is being rumored or the Jets are being rumored as a destination for Aaron Rodgers. They have the money to spend because a lot of their weapons are on rookie deals. The Jets are in good shape.
Full circle moment for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's pulling a full Brett Favre. Brett Favre doing the hemming and hawing back in the day with the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre ended up with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers might end up with the Jets. I mean, he is Brett Favre.
So before Lamar Shelley, it's funny how the more things change, they stay the same. The Vikings could be a spot too, but I shouldn't say this. There are reports coming out that the Packers have no intentions of trading him within the NFC,
right?
Which is smart, by the way. I don't blame them for that. But the Jets make a lot of sense. Dolphins and some others. I like Tua in Miami, but we'll see what they want to do. Lamar Shelley says, can you explain why Zach Taylor has never been coach of the year? Honestly, no homer take, just a question. You don't need to put the disclaimer out there. I'm a Zach Taylor dude. I am with you, but we'll get to the coach of the year in a moment. I want to transition over to the last category before we get to the coach of the year. Kev, assistant coach of the year. Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator. Steichen, sorry if I mispronounced. D'Amico Ryans, who I really like, 49ers defensive coordinator, and then Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. That's the list I was sent. Again, earlier you caught one that wasn't on there.
Yeah,
that's why
same one I got.
Okay, cool. So Ben Johnson, Lions OC, D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator for the Niners, and then Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator. Your assistant coach of the year is who, Kev?
This is right up there with the comeback player of the year. Any of these guys deserve it because you look at that Detroit offense going into the season, you're like, man, they're not going to be able to do this. They're not going to be able to do that. The Detroit Lions, they'll be picking in the top 5 because they're going to stink, yada, yada, yada. That was wrong. They, at one point, were leading the National Football League in points per game, and they had a game where they got shut out. Like, that's how good that offense was. Then you look at the San Francisco 49ers and what D'Amico Ryans has been doing with that unit. Yeah, they got a bunch of ballers out there, but guess what? He's new to this position. Like, he upgraded from the linebackers coach, and he's running that defense to perfection. And then you got the OC from Philadelphia. I want to give their head coach a lot of the credit because he scrapped everything that he was doing in the middle of last season to bring in basically the Oklahoma offense that Jalen Hurts ran for his 1 year at Oklahoma, and then that offense started to take off and flourish. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles OC as the assistant coach of the year. Can't pronounce his name.
So I'm going to go. I love Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. I'm going to do more with less guy. Now, let's be clear. The Lions have a lot of offensive weapons.
Yes.
However, to have a top 5 offensive team in the National Football League, and other teams in that top 5 offense are Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and in the likes of, obviously, Jalen Hurts. And you look at these elite offense, Josh Allen, and you're bringing Jared Goff to a Patrick Mahomes fight. Lots of weapons on the Lions. Don't get me wrong. Are they as elite as some of the other weapons that we've talked about, like with the Bengals and the Niners and others? No, they're not there, but they're still very, very good. I think, and Ben Johnson, he was supposed to be getting a head coaching opportunity. A lot of teams wanted his services, but he felt confident. One of my favorite quotes from him is that, like, he's been here through the bad with the Lions, and then to see them there's light at the end of the tunnel, that he feels like they have something special and that they're going somewhere. The loyalty to the team of he knows his payday's coming down the road. So he said he took a little bit of a raise with Detroit to stay as their offensive coordinator, could have been a head coach elsewhere. The success he's had, and now all of a sudden that feel good, that the Lions fans are feeling. I think that's pretty cool that he's doing that. All of those guys are deserving of it. I'm going to go with Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator.
Very fair. We were supposed to talk about this on the last week of the regular season, but which fan base out there that didn't make the playoffs feels as good as the Detroit Lions? Like, they knocked the Green Bay Packers out of the playoffs after they knew that they weren't going to make the playoffs. They knew for an entire day. They knew that they weren't going to be able to be playing for a playoff spot once Seattle won. So they go into this game knowing, like, this is our last game of the regular season. They could have mailed it in and just said, hey, man, 1, 2, 3, Cancun. But they came in there focused and knocked Green Bay out of the playoffs. I don't think any fan base out there should feel more proud of their team than the Detroit Lions, barring, obviously the team that wins the Super Bowl. But, like, out of the teams that didn't make the playoffs, Detroit Lions fans got to feel great.
All right, then last but not least, we move on to Coach of the Year. Lamar Shelley, his question from a few moments ago. Can you explain why Zach Taylor has never been Coach of the Year? Honestly, no homer take, just a question. Even if it was a homer take, I would agree with you. As much as there's a lot of things about the Bengals I'm not a big fan of. I do think he's been a little whiny, but I'm a big Zach Taylor fan because this dude got punched, he got kicked, he got buried. They wanted him out. I laughed at the hire. I said, that's a typical Bengals hire. How stupid is that? But as I've talked about, January's crow eating season for me. It's just what it is now. Zach Taylor has proven to be a very effective head coach. He's been able to take the bumps and bruises and then still be able to keep the locker room intact and allow them to fight through some of their struggles. I'm a big Zach Taylor fan. I do believe he should have been on the list of finalists for Coach of the Year. I'm not arguing he should be Coach of the Year, but I think to not be a finalist is kind of, interesting. Coach of the Year finalist, Kev. Mm-hmm. There is no Zach Taylor on this list. I think that there should be, but here are the finalists. Brian Daboll with the Giants, Doug Peterson with the Jaguars, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. Your 2022 Coach of the Year is whom?
Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson is the coach that I wanted the Chicago Bears to get because of Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields to succeed. I want Justin Fields to be a baller in this league, and I'm sick of the narrative about Ohio State quarterbacks can't excel in this league. And I knew if Doug Peterson got his hands on him, he would succeed. They didn't do that. Jacksonville did. Now Trevor Lawrence is succeeding because of Doug Peterson, because he brought stability there. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He's played in this league. I'm going to give it to Doug Peterson because he was able to get Jacksonville off the mat and win their division and make it to the playoffs.
Coach of the Year, I like Doug Peterson, but here's where I'm going to defend Zach Taylor to an extent. I'm not voting for him, but I think that it's interesting to see Kyle Shanahan on the 3 different quarterbacks.
That's not, yeah.
3 different quarterbacks. To lose your start, if Zach Taylor loses Joe Burrow, they're not sniffing the playoffs. If the Chiefs lose Patrick Mahomes, they're going to win some football games because they're well coached. Bengals will win. I think they'd win 6-7 without Burrow, but they're not making the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that they didn't lose just 1, but 2, they're on their 3rd string quarterback. The last pick of the draft is leading this offense. As a Browns fan, I know you can have a roster full of talent and the quarterback can ruin that talent. I've watched it. So to say that Purdy is only good because of the talent around him, it definitely helps. You still have to have between the ears. You have to have what it takes between the ears to take in and absorb all the coaching and be able to run the offense. So yes, Brock Purdy has been a great story. I think Shanahan, it's tough to coach a lot of talent. Mm-hmm. I mean, the expectations are to win and win. And every time we think that there's a point where the Niners are going to take a step back because they just keep winning and they keep winning. So that's why I think sometimes we need to stop punishing the coaches with the most talent. I think Zach Taylor was held against him. Well, you have a lot of talent. You're doing what you should be doing. So, I feel like this award ends up becoming a storyline award. Which coach is doing something that's the most, not miraculous, but the most interesting? That's why Daboll's on here. They were projected to win 7 games. They won 9 games. Yep, you won 2 more than you were projected to. You're winning with Daniel Jones. You're winning with a horrible roster or a very average roster. Daboll should be a finalist. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, come on. Zach Taylor, I think, should be on there over Brian Daboll. But because the storyline of, man, it's the Giants. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs, and they're in the playoffs, and they're competing for the division. So there's that. But I like Kyle Shanahan, Doug Peterson, by the way. Fantastic job. You're right. Everything you've been calling that the Bears should do everything in their power to land him. Imagine what Justin Fields would be doing. Peterson and the Jags are going to be relevant for quite some time moving forward.
I think Doug Peterson played for the Bears, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, the Bears they're everything. So everything that I and all Bengals critics said that the Bengals would be when they got Joe Burrow is what the Bears are doing with Justin Fields. They just make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Everything that was not supposed to happen, but everything that was prognosticated about what would happen when the Bengals drafted Burrow, the opposite of that happened. And everything that we said would happen with the Bengals and Joe Burrow has happened with the Bears and Justin Fields, interestingly enough. But for my Coach of the Year, Kev, there's a name that I think, 2 names that should be on this that aren't 3. I already said Zach Taylor, but Mike Tomlin, who I'm not the biggest of fan. I think that the Steelers fans are getting in the habit of falling in love, maybe not you, but falling in love with that. We've never had a season under 500, and that becomes an accomplishment instead of saying, well, look at these playoffs. Mm-hmm. They're close. The defense is there, but you could pick it. Well, man, he showed some improvement. Okay, cool. He improved, but are you getting the quality quarterback play that's going to put you in position to compete with the Bengals moving forward? That's going to compete with the Chiefs moving forward, the Bills and all that. I don't know if Pickett's there. He's improved. What does that mean? But I do like the fact that Mike Tomlin, every time that we are telling him you're going to finish in last place, you're not going to win X amount of games. I mean, that week 1 matchup with the Steelers or with the Bengals, I'm like, this team's not going to win more than 5 games this year. They won 9 games, a game over 500. I like the job Mike Tomlin did, but Pete Carroll, how's Pete Carroll? You don't lose your star quarterback and go on to be a playoff team. I mean, they competed with it. It was a 2.5 quarter tight game until the Niners just burst it all open against the Seahawks. But there was a time where I was like, man, the Seahawks are going to make this interesting. They could upset the Niners, and they had the defense. They need a little more, but the offense is pretty solid. But I think what Pete Carroll did was pretty damn impressive. I think he should have got more love as well. But overall, I think the three were correct that were on there. But I thought a lot of names should have been on there too.
Yeah. As far as Coach Tomlin is concerned, or any coach out there, if you're not in the playoffs, you shouldn't be a finalist for Coach of the Year. Like, it's just that simple to me.
Fair enough.
If you're not playing,
that's that storyline.
Yeah,
that's that storyline.
If you're not in the tournament, you can't be Coach of the Year. Period. For me, at least. And I would question for Cincinnati Bengals fans, outside of this season, did Zach Taylor deserve to be in the talk about Coach of the Year? Like, this season for sure. Last season, they had obviously a great season because they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. It was a throwaway from winning the thing. But like the years before that, he didn't deserve to be in there. Like this year, yeah.
See, I thought last year, based on how we do it with the storyline, Zach Taylor, yes. The Zach Taylor is this year's Doug Peterson. Or last year, Zach Taylor was this year's Doug Peterson. And the Jags, I said, could they be this year's Bengals? And they basically were. The team that didn't make the playoffs the year before, that no one gave a shot heading into the season. We'll just see some vast improvement in Burrow and the Bengals offense. And that's exactly what we said about the Jags coming into this year. We'll see a little bit of improvement with Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, just kind of good leader of men. They won the division. They, were right there. They had a chance to beat the Chiefs until they pulled away late. But like they were this year's. I think Zach Taylor should have won it last year more so than this year, but I do think he's not getting the appreciation that he should. Joe Burrow's hogging it all. He's hogging all the love.
Well, he definitely gonna have an opportunity if they handle their business in these next two games. Well, next game during the AFC Championship, and if they're able to raise that Lombardi, people will put more respect on his name.
David Shaw says the Lions are winning the NFC North next year. Book it.
Book it. Book it.
Shaw, I agree with you, but I have to wait to see what the Bears do in the offseason. They have $100 million to spend, a lot of top draft picks. I'm going to wait to see what they do first. But they should be the favorites heading into next year. The Vikings, they have tough decisions to make. I mean, are they just going to keep doing it? They're going to keep just this Cousins thing going, huh?
He played great this season. I think he played great this season. I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan. I think he played great this season. The reason they lost that playoff game was not his fault. It just simply wasn't his fault. Like, they got to retool that defense, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to retool it because, got to pay dudes on the offense side of the ball. So I'm not sure what they're going to do there. They fired their defensive coordinator. That's a start. So they got to retool. But, yeah, it's definitely down to the Vikings and the Lions because we don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. We have no idea what's going to happen with the Chicago Bears, if they're going to be able to bring free agents there to play with Justin Fields. I mean, it's a lot of mysteries, and I wouldn't put my money on that happening.
Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Jeff Salyers on Facebook says, as a Bengals fan, I have to admit, I really like Mike Tomlin. Bengals fans, what do you think? What do you think of old Jeff's comments? Jeff also says, I don't believe so with Zach Taylor. Jeff, you're a Bengals fan. What is it about Zach Taylor that you're not a fan of? Like, I feel like Zach Taylor is the only coach in the NFL. Like, Andy Reid is an offensive genius because of the things that Patrick Mahomes does on the field, which Andy Reid really is a very good head coach. Don't get me wrong. But like, Andy Reid gets equally as much praise as Patrick Mahomes does on the field for what he does. Zach Taylor is not getting that. And I just don't understand. I don't like the play call. He's been able to call plays around a deficient offensive line, even though they addressed it in the offseason. They played well for a stretch. Now they're banged up. 2.4 seconds is the average amount of time it takes Joe Burrow to hike the ball, drop back, get rid of the ball. I mean, the offense is catered around their deficiencies, and they're not just catered around the deficiencies, but they're maximizing the talent even with Zach Taylor deserves way more credit than he gets. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't because I'm watching a coach in Kevin Stefanski that I'm not a big fan of, and I think that although he's an offensive mind, I think that his offensive scheme holds the Browns back more than anything else. And then Zach Taylor is literally scheming around their deficiencies and maximizing it. And come on, I mean, Joe Burrow has this cult-like following that, as much as people like Patrick Mahomes at Chiefs fans, they're smart enough to balance out the fandom. Like, I believe that do you believe, and maybe I'm a hater, I think Burrow's fandom outweighs the Bengals fandom. I think the obsession with Burrow outweighs the fandom for the team itself. I'm not joking. I've never seen anything like this. Don't call me jealous. Don't do any of that. I'm acknowledging how great Burrow is, but Kev, it is weird. I've never seen a cult-like following with Joe Burrow the way we have seen the way Bengals fans flock to him. And it's to the point to where Zach Taylor gets zero credit. Zero credit. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, it's the greatest coaching quarterback combo in the NFL. Joe Burrow overcomes Zach Taylor. I have a hard time believing that. He's
the Pied Piper. You get that feeling not only from the fan base, but from his teammates. Like, he's a leader of men. Like, all those cliche things, like, they're buying into it. Not only the young guys that came in a year or two before or after Joe Burrow, but the guys that have already been there. Like, they're following his lead. Like, they believe in him. And they've played with other quarterbacks that don't have whatever that term it is. He has it. It's kind of almost, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. I'm not. But with Tom Brady, nobody ever looked at Tom Brady. It was like, oh, man, he's the most athletic dude. He has the strongest arm. They just have a belief factor in him. And obviously the belief factor he had in himself to get to be GOAT status. That's like kind of the mojo that they pushing behind Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but it is weird. The obsession with Burrow. Like, I feel like when I make these points, people aren't going to listen to it as thoroughly because they'll just chalk it up to me being me. But it is a creepy obsession. Like, Chiefs fans are Chiefs fans and they love Patrick Mahomes. Bengals fans are Burrow fans who buy Bengals jerseys. It is weird. I've never seen anything like it. And people comparing him to Tom Brady, I disagree because Tom Brady didn't even have that kind of cult following, even at his peak. So this is weird to me. Zach Taylor doesn't get any credit. Joe Burrow is the reason that everything flows there. And by the way, yes, it takes the quarterback for all of that. Don't get me wrong, but it is interesting. I think the thing with Andy Reid, the reason he gets more credit than Zach Taylor is because we watched Andy Reid win at a high level with Alex Smith. But we watched him win with multiple quarterbacks where Zach Taylor needed this quarterback. Maybe that's it. But I do feel from a social media standpoint, from listening to sports shows in Cincinnati, hearing how listeners, it's never the Bengals it's Burrow. It's Burrow. Chiefs fans love the Chiefs. Bengals fans love Joe Burrow and they love buying Bengals jerseys because Joe Burrow's wearing that. Like, that's really what it comes down to me. It'll be interesting. Robert Burgess on Facebook says, you're right, Justin. If it was just Chase, their people wouldn't be coming out of the woodworks claiming to be Bengals fans. I'm not trying to hate here. I think it's a valid observation on my end. I really do. Like, it is, Burrow can do no wrong. Kev, when they started out 1-3, if the Buffalo Bills start out 1-3 next year, Josh Allen sucks. If the Chiefs, when the Chiefs were losing last year for a stretch, Patrick Mahomes, maybe he was overrated. Maybe he's not as good as we thought. Joe Burrow starts out 1-3. Damn, Zach Taylor, we got to get him out of here. And I'm like, no, folks. That's not like, it's strange, but good for Joe Burrow. This is why he should take less to stay in Cincinnati, because even when they lose, it's never his fault. He has a good thing going there. All right, 518-1410, folks. We'll be right back. That went long, but I appreciate the feedback on social media. We'll continue reading your responses when we come back. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Need an online notary? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. We can notarize your documents remotely at no charge to you. All you need is a smartphone or laptop. Visit courthouse2u.com for more info.
Shop limited time deals at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. Save big on your favorites across the store. During this event, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Plus, find the perfect floor tile for your home for less. Get up to 50% off select styles while you can. Head to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the Truckload event today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowes.com for details. Discount taken at time of purchase.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest tax refund, plus a chance to double your refund with the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal return ends 4/2/23.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So I had a meeting with the old boss today, and, you know, it's baby steps. He's still telling me, you don't have to be a Bengals fan, but maybe you could just try. No. Sorry, boss. Sorry, boss, man. Not going to happen. And it's his fault. They signed me to a contract extension. I'm like, don't you think you should have these talks with me before you put the contract in front of me and I sign my extension or whatever? But they always say to listen to your boss. You guys know I ain't going to listen. Kev, who do I listen to? Do I listen to anybody?
Nobody.
I don't listen to anybody. But I am willing to take a step back on the whole, so I think you fans are irritating me a little bit with the whole disrespect thing. However, I get, after a few conversations with Kev, who has to talk me off the ledge on things, that, okay, yes, there are things that happen to kind of help self-motivate. And although I find it kind of silly and ridiculous, I don't need to wake up in the morning and say, my boss thinks I'm a bad radio host. I'm going to show him. Kev thinks I'm a bad radio host. I'm going to show him. Bengals fans think I'm a bad host. No, you guys really do. I'm going to show them. I wake up, I'm like, I want to be the best that I could be today. I don't need to make up. I'm not a psychopath. I don't need to make up these weird things to trick me into doing my job. Like, why? Like, so even if that's the case, Kev, that they have to like use the Michael Jordan example, which by the way, when I'm watching that documentary, I'm like, I see people drooling over Michael Jordan, like making these things up. I'm like, does anyone else notice that this is like actually like sociopathic, like psychopathic behavior? Like, why, when we're praising this, what the heck's happening? So my thing is I feel like I'm better than some of y'all because I don't need to convince myself that people don't like me. I just kind of know it deep down. But here's the thing. I want to be the best. I don't need you to tell me I'm bad at my job to motivate me to do I just want to do my best. Why do the Bengals need disrespected to do their job? That's all. But no, in all seriousness, the Zach Taylor thing fascinates me. It really does, because you all know I always look for every reason I can to pile on the Bengals. And the one thing that I have not really piled on is Zach Taylor. I think that his job is actually kind of hard, because it's one thing when you take over a team that has no talent and you're not expected to win. You're just hoping to kind of hover around 500 and kind of just a year by year thing. To get talent and win with that talent is key. Zach Taylor, everyone believed, Kev, that he was going to be the guy before the guy. I read an article about the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. I kind of like JB. I like Bickerstaff a little bit. But everyone believes that he's kind of the coach before the coach. Like if they don't finish the season strong, or if they get swept in the playoffs or something along those lines, that he's the coach before the coach. I was listening to some sports talk over in Cleveland earlier today, and I thought that was interesting that that's kind of the perception of Bickerstaff. And that's kind of reminds me of what I felt about Zach Taylor when Joe Burrow and company came into town. Is okay. Zach Taylor's job was not to win football games. His job was to make sure Joe Burrow progresses and gets better. And that's what a lot of like Doug Peterson, to be honest. So coach of the year, because yes, they won their division. They're in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They came back from 27-0. Man, Doug Peterson's fantastic, right? Well, the thing that's interesting is Doug Peterson didn't have to do any of that for us to say he did a good job this year. All he had to do was make sure that Trevor Lawrence, they could have won 6-7 games. Trevor Lawrence throws for 4,500 yards, 25 to 30 touchdowns, completion percentage good. The offense looks like it's just a couple pieces away, and boom, off we go. They didn't make moves to win this year necessarily. They did add some weapons. But folks, they traded away some pieces to get Calvin Ridley, who they knew was suspended for the whole entire season. That was a move for next year. The Jags made all these moves for next year. They just were a year ahead of schedule, kind of like the Bengals. They're kind of a year ahead of schedule last year. So Doug Peterson went above and beyond. Zach Taylor didn't get that same. That perception was not there. His job last year was to show progress with the offense, with Joe Burrow acquiring Jamar Chase in the draft, year 2 of T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, that veteran leadership within that young receiving core, obviously another year of Joe Mixon, and then hoping that offensive line comes together. The O-line didn't come together, but that's the only thing that didn't come together for that offense last year. Zach Taylor got zero credit for it. That he still had that feel of the coach before the coach. And then he follows up last year's Super Bowl run with another near Super Bowl run this year, maybe winning it all this year. But I still feel like, Kev, the vibe I'm getting from Bengals fans even is he's still the coach before the coach, and I don't get it. He gets zero credit for the team's success, but gets all the blame when things don't go well. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, yes, that's how it always. No, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't. When teams don't play, like last year when the Chiefs were kind of struggling a little bit. Remember that start to the season? I mean, their defense was bad. Patrick Mahomes was throwing a ton of interceptions. Patrick Mahomes was bad.
They moved Chris Jones to the outside, and obviously they realized that was a bad move, and they put him back on the inside at D tackle as opposed to DN.
But like at that time, Patrick Mahomes, he was the headline in every sports talk show. He's regressing. Maybe, we crowned him too soon. Maybe the league's finally figured him out. A couple times through the league, they figured him out, right? It wasn't, Andy Reid's bad. They weren't going for Andy Reid. The Bengals started 1-3 this year. Joe Burrow was throwing a lot of interceptions again, kind of like what we saw during his struggle, like the start to last season. They couldn't put points up on the board, which was just mind-boggling to me when you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and P. Ryan, and these guys. Like, how are you not putting points up on the board? The emerging star and Hurst with them as at tight end. But it wasn't Joe Burrow. It was Patrick Mahomes last year. It's his fault, but it wasn't Joe. It was Zach Taylor. I think Buckeye. I think Bengals fans who are upset that Zach Taylor is not getting the praise he deserves and the Coach of the Year honors and stuff. I think that's a little bit of your fan base's fault. You're mad at the league for not valuing him when you don't. And I'm not speaking for all Bengals fans. I'm saying it's all of you. But am I wrong in saying that Zach Taylor has still not bought the full trust of the fan base? I don't know what more he has to do. You know what a cool thing he does that I just am in love with. I think it's really cool. after home games in the playoffs, he goes and delivers game balls to the local sports bars because the fans were there cheering on their team, or after the game, they go to that's cool. The coach, not sending some assistant to the bars. No, he's walking in and handing game balls to the sports bars saying, thanks for the support. Thank you, fans. That's cool stuff. Bill Belichick ain't doing that. Andy Reid's not doing that. So I'm going to come to the defense of Zach Taylor because I think it was wrong that he wasn't a finalist for Coach of the Year. I'm not saying he was Coach of the Year, but I do think that I have a problem with fans who are saying he's disrespected all while they've been disrespecting him since he's got to Cincinnati, or at least since they emerged last year with the Bengals. That's all. I'm defending Zach Taylor to a certain extent when it comes to that, even against his own fans.
This is year 4 for Coach Taylor?
I think so. Is it year 4, Bengals fans? Year 3 or 4? I think it's year 4.
So the thing about what's cool about Coach Taylor is not only is he the head coach, but he's also the play caller. And I'm not a fan of that. I really don't like that. I really want an offensive coordinator to be the play caller because I think there's a lot that goes on inside of a football game more than just offense. But I see Coach Taylor a ton talking to the defensive staff, talking on the headset when instead of we always see Coach Stefanski, it doesn't seem like he's invested in the offense at all. We see that same thing with LaFleur up there in Green Bay. It really seems like Coach Taylor is involved with every aspect of the game, not only just the offensive side of the ball, but you got to take the good with the bad. Like, obviously, they have a stacked roster. They have a number 1 overall pick and a quarterback. They got a stud wide receiver. They got 2 stud wide receivers. They got a lot of great weapons because if they're able to win on Sunday and then punch the ticket and go to the Super Bowl and actually hoist the thing, I'm sure he's not going to give a rip if he's getting credit or not because he's going to be a Super Bowl winning head coach. And then he'll be able to go to the front office management and say, contract extension, I'm going to need a raise.
Yeah, let me see. What is Zach Taylor's salary right now? That's what I am curious about because, by the way, that Super Bowl hangover, like Bengals fans got mad when I kept bringing up the Super Bowl hangover. You talked about, everyone talked about. That's a real thing. And I do believe that that's what they were experiencing a little bit to start the season. You feeling yourself after the Super Bowl run. You're told how great you are. And by the way, they deservingly so. Any team that gets to the Super Bowl, like whoever gets there this year, they're going to be feeling it. And how they manage the offseason and all that is going to matter. But the reason that was brought up is because, but Zach Taylor coached it out of him. Some like Sean McVay is, God as a head coach in football right now. He couldn't coach it out of the Rams. They had injuries, don't get me wrong, but they weren't torn from the top down. Yes, you lose your quarterback, but the Seahawks made a run they lose Russell Wilson and still make a run because they had a ton of talent, or they still had enough talent left over. The Rams have way more talent than the Seahawks, and they couldn't get it going. Matthew Stafford's good, but he's not irreplaceable, right? Like, he's not irreplaceable. I would have said Russell Wilson, although this Russell Wilson, it's kind of hard to make that argument, but that's, he was still a very, elite quarterback with the Seahawks, whatever. All I'm saying is Zach Taylor coached his team through the Super Bowl hangover and got zero credit for it. Not a fan.
Hot take. Baker about to take his job.
Who?
Baker going to take Stafford's job.
Really?
Yeah.
Big Baker fan, huh?
No, I'm just saying.
Told you he was great, dude.
That's my dude. I told you that I like Baker Mayfield over Matthew Stafford when we did the quarterback rankings back when Baker was balling and led your team to the playoffs. I would definitely take Baker over Matthew Stafford, even though he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I say they trade Matthew Stafford, see what they can get for him, because there are already rumors about trading Aaron Donald and rumors about trading Jalen Ramsey. Stafford's not going to stick around if you trade away all these guys. So if you're going to trade away those two, you might as well trade him away too and kind of hit the reset button.
Yeah, we'll get that is going to be an interesting thing to see where Baker does end up. That's for sure. Because a lot of interesting quarterbacks, mid-level quarterbacks, are going to be looking for jobs. Is Baker going to be a starter or a backup next year? That could be a starting situation for him. But on this last thing on this Zach Taylor situation here, David Shaw says, I think that we notice Andy Reid because we don't live near Kansas City. We hear everything about Burrow because we are so close to Cincy. Oh, this goes back to my point earlier where I think Bengals fandom has obviously increased dramatically as the team has gotten better, but I sense more of a cult-like following around Joe Burrow more than I do the Bengals. I think that there are more Burrow fans than Bengals fans. I think that there are more Burrow fans that are wrapped in Bengals gear than anything else, because what if the Bengals have gone on similar runs and they have a mid-tier quarterback running it? Like Andy Dalton, there was no one losing their mind over it. Now, Joe Burrow deserves this, by the way. He's way better than Andy Dalton. Don't get me wrong. But that's why even these playoff runs, There was no playoff runs with Dalton, but even these playoff appearances, just night and day different feel from the city, even in Dayton, compared to back when they were making it early on. Jeff Salyers on Facebook says, maybe one of the most overlooked reasons why the Bengals are in the AFC Championship game is the defense. People give all the credit to Burrow, but that defense has been balling out. Yes, I mean, they're a full team. I mean, they're both sides of the ball. They're balanced. Matt Sturgeon on Zach Taylor says, I'm a huge Bengals fan and follow the whole team, but you are right about Burrow. I do hold him above all other current Bengals because he is the quarterback. No elite quarterback equals uphill battle to win. Plus, I love his swag, especially because it bothers you.
So, for reference, this is Coach Taylor's record: 28, 36, and 1 in 4 years of coaching. Obviously, last year 10-7, this year 12-4. Those are obviously
repeat that record again. Full record.
28, 36, and 1. 4 years of coaching. Last year 10-7, this year 12-4. Regular season record, of course.
But see, he should be a feel-good story in the NFL because he was a coach that survived a rebuild. Remember, I said last year wasn't confident he would keep his job because most coaches don't take over a bad team and then get to see it through. Urban Meyer,
but it's the Cincinnati Bengals where you do get a chance.
Yeah, and Mike Brown doesn't fire coaches.
Right.
I mean, Marvin Lewis was let go probably 3 or 4 years too late from when it probably, his message had kind of run stale. But most coaches in these situations, I mean, look, that's why the Texans, when they hired Tully, what was his name? The coach before Lovie Smith, I think it was Tully or so. I mean, no one really knew who he was, to be honest. They hired him knowing they weren't going to win. Then they fired him because they lost. Made no sense. Lovie Smith, a proven head coach in the NFL in years past, coming out of the college ranks, after a run at Illinois that didn't go so hot. But they hired him knowing they weren't going to win games and then fired him because they didn't win games. Doesn't make sense.
No, they fired him because he won too many games.
Yeah. So whatever coach they hire, this is probably not going to be the coach that sees it out. So that's why they're not going to get a good quality hit. That's why they should have kept Lovie Smith to begin with. So that's what I find most fascinating about this is Zach Taylor. There's not a lot of coaches that that took over a bad team and then got to see it out to the end. That's the difference with Zach Taylor is I think because we still associate him with all the losing that led to getting Burrow and Higgins. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I find his run in Cincinnati fascinating. I do not want them to win the Super Bowl, but if they do, and there's a good chance that they will, if they do, I never want to hear Zach Taylor slander again because the dude can coach. And when Joe Burrow was asked about his future in Cincinnati, not only did he say he wants to play his whole career in Cincinnati, he said he wanted to play his whole career for Zach Taylor.
Zachary William Taylor.
So keep that in mind. Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs. Not once did he ever publicly come out to say, man, I want to, he gave his, credited his success to LaFleur, right?
Or McCarthy.
Or McCarthy or anyone. Tom Brady that doesn't badmouth his coaches, but he never said, oh, I want to play for Belichick forever. He won how many Super Bowls with Belichick?
5.
So I'm just saying, we got to stop. Well, Bengals fans, you need to appreciate your head coach just a little more. Listen to what I have to say. I know y'all love what I have to say. All right. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane had some interesting comments that some took as taking a shot at the Cincinnati Bengals. And I initially thought it was as well. But when you listen to it, he brings up a very good point, although I could see why coming off of a loss against the Bengals, you could maybe take it that way. Let me ask you, before I play it, did you take it as a slight?
I didn't take it as a slight. It is
a jab?
A little salty.
Little flick of the nose.
Well, they had to suck to get those guys. You had to suck to get Allen as well.
Remember, they were a playoff team when they got Allen.
Yeah, that is true. They had, that is true. You are correct because Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback of that team that got them back to the playoffs.
But so Brandon B, I don't think it was as bad as what people said, but I do think there was a little flick in there. But he brings up a valid point that is kind of supported by what you are seeing right now in the Final Four, in the NFC and AFC championship games. We'll talk about that. We have the audio from Brandon Beane, the general manager for the GM for, of course, the Buffalo Bills. So we'll get to that on the other side. Norm Grevey, former Dayton Flyer, he's coming in later in the show as well. Entire hour Dayton Flyers talk coming up as well. Let's see what else we got. We got. Oh yeah, how about this myth that Buckeye quarterbacks are not wanted in the NFL?
Oh boy.
well, we might see a Buckeye quarterback be the first quarterback taken off the board, according to ESPN's Mel Kiper. We have that around the corner as well. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Houday Nation, Betfred has come all the way from England to the great state of Ohio with over 50 years of sports betting experience. No emperors, no movie stars, just a sportsbook you can trust. The Betfred Sportsbook app will be available on January 1st, 2023. Until then, download the Bengals app or go to betfredsports.com and have a chance to win Bengals tickets and exclusive merchandise. Official sports betting partner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Want to know how you can satisfy every comfort food craving? Stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try a home-style bowl for only $4.59. You'll get a bowl of our mashed potatoes with breast strip bites, corn, and gravy, all topped off with shredded cheddar cheese to create a truly unbeatable bowl. Get your every wish in one hearty, craveable dish when you try a home-style bowl from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for only $4.59. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest tax refund, plus a chance to double your refund with the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal return ends 4/2/23.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be cloudy and windy with showers, a high near 40. Tonight's going to be cloudy with a wintry mix, a low near 30. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with snow, a high near 32. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is officially live in Ohio, right in time for the NFL playoffs. Now you can legally bet on all your favorite sports, anytime and anywhere, right here in Ohio with DraftKings. For a limited time, new customers who sign up with promo code WING1410 and bet $5 or more will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. Now, just because my Pittsburgh Steelers didn't make the playoffs doesn't mean I shouldn't try to make some money with some same-game parlays and player props. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers can use promo code WING1410 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, with code WING1410. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and up. Physically present in Ohio. Valid one offer per first-time depositor who have not already redeemed $200 in free bets via pre-launch offer. Minimum $5 deposit and wager. $200 issued as bonus bets. Eligibility restrictions apply. See dkng.co/OH for terms.
Are you ready for tax season? Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services is ready for you. If you want to come in person, it's a safe environment. Or you can just drop off. Belmont Tax also provides a completely virtual, secure client portal. For business or personal, if you want the accurate deductions you deserve, contact Belmont Tax in Dayton and Eaton. Go to BelmontBCTXS.com. BelmontBCTXS.com.
Urology Specialists of Ohio are here for you. Men, your good health is important to them. Their knowledge of specific male anatomy, prostate issues, and how to help in your healing is their main focus. Urology Specialists of Ohio are now accepting new patients at all locations: Beaver Creek, Springfield, Urbana, Xenia, and London. They have been in practice for over 20 years with over 80 years of experience between 5 physicians. Call today. They can schedule your appointment in a timely manner with little wait time. Online at urologyspecialistofohio.com.
Guys, fellas, men, are you Roman ready for Valentine's Day? Right now, generic Viagra, aka Sildenafil, is just $4 per dose at Roman. Just complete a free online visit with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. If medication is appropriate, Roman sends everything right to your door with free shipping and in discreet packaging. Go to ro.co/Viagra to get generic Viagra for just $4 per dose. Do it by February 8th for 20% off and guaranteed shipping by Valentine's Day. That's ro.co/Viagra.
Milk, eggs, $42. Ma'am, you okay?
Need bucks? With Jackson Hewitt, don't wait weeks for the IRS to send your tax refund. Come in now for up to $3,500 with a no-interest, no-fee refund advance loan when you file your taxes. That's up to $3,500 today. Don't let high prices get you down. When every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes. So get to Jackson Hewitt today. For eligible clients, loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Norm Grevey will be with us here in studio coming up here in about an hour. Former Dayton Flyer. Dayton had a tough loss against VCU about a week and a half ago. They followed it up with a nice rebound win against Davidson and then lost at George Washington this past weekend, and it was not a solid performance. It's interesting because they're getting not worse isn't the right word to use, but they are regressing as they're getting healthier. But that's one way to spin it. But what's happening is you're getting Malachi back and Elvis back into the lineup, and now roles are changing. And it's like, it took AG it took him a little bit to coach the new roster after losing those two. It took a while to kind of coach them up differently and get a new system out there, at least, run things differently. And then as they started getting that going, they were rolling. They were punching teams pretty good. Then they get the guys back, and now the offense just seems to be sputtering again. And it's not like Malachi Smith is bad and he's making them worse, but since coming back, it's like the offense has taken a step back, and obviously it's going to take time. But this is why, although they had top 25 expectations and at-large expectations, this is only stressful if you still have those expectations. But those expectations are out the window now. So now what you have is instead of, oh my gosh, we got to get this right, we got to get it right now. Now you're like, all right, luckily we're getting him back in early January, so we have about a month and a half to kind of get things right before the A10 tournament. So that's my positive spin. Everyone's like, Kenner, you're always so positive. How do you wake up and just be so positive all the time? So that's my dose of positivity for the day.
So the A10, in your opinion, is still a one-bid league?
I think this year, yes. It's not good this year. It's not. VCU's solid, but they're not. This isn't your typical VCU team that's bulletproof. I mean, it's your typical. What you usually expect is your St. Louis and your Dayton and your VCU and your Davidson as far as consistency, but that's not the case this year. VCU looks very, very good. Dayton at times looks very, very good, but no, there's not I don't see how they get 2 win. I really don't.
Wow.
But how they usually get 2 win is a lot of times you'll have your true number one team that's going to get that at-large bid, and then at times they don't win the A10 tournament, and then you have a bid stealer, and that's how you become a multi bid league. The A10's not a bad conference. They're just not very good this season, but the coaching is pretty solid, younger rosters, the turnover. So we'll see what happens, but that's what makes this season even more of an opportune time for Dayton to take advantage of some of their deficiencies, is the fact that it's not like this conference is a big uphill battle this year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, all of college football is kind of wacky.
Basketball,
this year.
but yeah.
I mean, look at it. I mean, Duke's not ranked. Indiana's not ranked. North Carolina's not ranked. Illinois is not ranked. I mean, Ohio State's not going to be ranked for quite some time the way they keep losing. They lost last night as well. But you look at some of the other teams out there that's ranked, Florida Atlantic, you say, oh, they're just ranked because, well, they're 19-1. You know what I'm saying? Charleston is 21-1. So this is going to be one of them years that anybody could win this thing. And it probably won't be a brand name team that wins it.
No, I mean, that's going to be tough for bettors, though. Because usually you can get to March Madness and you start filling out brackets and you're like, oh, well, Duke at least. I mean, I'm not comfortable knocking Duke out before the Elite Eight. I'm not comfortable knocking out, this team. Xavier's always one of those weird teams that, like, you always feel like you're like, oh, this could be like, they don't be surprised if they're one of those surprise teams that makes a run or what have you. This year, though, I mean, Purdue's been number one on multiple occasions, but when a Big Ten team is number one, that shows you what kind of year it is, because they're probably not winning the I mean, my goodness, is this the year to put money on the Big Ten versus the field when it comes to March Madness? Could this be the year?
It is.
I got to pull up the old FanDuel app and for Kinder's Daily Wagers and see what it's what the payout is to say that the Big Ten is going to win the national championship this year. So we'll see what happens.
Might as well.
Real quick, going back to the Bengals, appreciate all the social media responses, by the way. Matt Sturgeon's talked about Zach Taylor. He goes, I was kind of, he's a little uncertain of Coach Taylor in years 1 and 2, but now have totally bought in. His in-game management has dramatically improved. Maybe, but have you ever thought about the rosters he had in years 1 and 2 versus the roster he has now in years 3 and 4? And Matt, I'm not like, for one, yes, I agree with you, but I mean, half the time, like, I don't think we're getting a true evaluation of who these coaches are, Kev, when they have bad rosters. And what I mean by that is, well, it's one thing if you lose, but you can't lose the locker room. Well, it's very difficult to keep a locker room when you're losing. A lot of guys check out. And I know that you're judged on, well, can you keep them checked in? That's not always necessarily fair. For instance, the Bills have been a feel-good story in the NFL for years. They're, but guess what? For the first time in Josh Allen's career, and the first time in this Buffalo Bills run, when we saw Stephon Diggs have one hell of a temper tantrum that he threw, right? Oh man, Josh Allen, all this. Oh, is there a coach losing control of the locker room? All this. No, it's hard for even the best coaches to manage tempers when you have these uber competitive people. So the thing is, when we're talking about Zach Taylor, I don't really like how he called games in year 1 and 2. You mean when he had no quarterback, when he had no defense? I mean, those were some historically bad defenses. Bad defenses. That's why, so bad to the point that even when they got Joe Burrow, they said, hey, we'd love to give you weapons right now, but we got to get some weapons on this defense. And that's what they went and did. So I'm not saying Zach Taylor isn't a better coach today than what he was when he started, but I don't think it's fair. I don't know how you get a true indicator of who a coach is when they don't have talent. Every coach looks better when they have talent. Luke Fickell, who I love to beat up on. I mean, my goodness, based on that 1 year at Ohio State, you would think he's a bum coach. But then guess what? He goes to Cincinnati. He's able to establish a program and he gets some talent in there. My gosh, look, he starts winning some football games. So as much as I love to have fun with that, it's obvious the guy can coach. So this is why I don't like, even when you talk about coaches who, there's only 32 jobs. I'd be very careful with what jobs you take, because Zach Taylor, if they would have fired him, if the Bengals operated like most teams do and fired him after year 2, Zach Taylor would have never got a head coaching gig in the NFL again. And look, a little patience. He might be getting back to the Super Bowl for the second straight season. So interesting.
Yeah, you brought it up earlier when you were saying he got better as a coach too. Like, let's not forget, like, he wasn't an offensive coordinator. He was like the quarterback coach for the Rams, right? So he wasn't out there actively drawing up the plays, calling the plays. Like, he was learning on the job when he became the Cincinnati Bengals head coach. And he was calling plays and handling everything behind the scenes, organizing this, that, and the third, all the things that coaches have to do. So you grow as a coach as well. More and more you do it. You get your feet wet. You know what works. You know what doesn't work for you. You know how to run the organization. And then on top of that, you get an influx of free agent talent for defense. And then you get an influx of talent on drafted rookies and young talent on the offensive side of the ball that they're all learning together at the same time, at the same pace. you should take off like a rocket ship. And they definitely are. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with.
All right. Mark Smith, he reaches out. He goes, Kenner, I need you to hate on Burrow some more. I need you to talk about how bad his clothes are or how you hate his sunglasses. Say anything bad about him that you can, because all of the media is saying how great he is. I don't want him to lose his edge. So you're saying I'm an asset to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now that I know how sensitive this team is, they need to, apparently they don't just wake up and have the motivation to go play hard themselves. They need to have someone say something bad about them to get them to go play hard. Okay, but no, nonetheless. All right, we talked about the Bills a little bit. Their general manager, and Brandon Beane did obviously end of the season, media availability. He was kind of asked about, well, what's next? What do you do with this roster moving forward? It's still a very good roster. I do believe people are overreacting about the Bills just slightly. I think that their deficiencies caught up with them in this loss. Yes, but let's not forget that it's the strength of that team that got them in position to be labeled Super Bowl favorites to begin with. And by the way, Vegas already has them labeled as Super Bowl favorites next year now, which doesn't make any sense, but that's where we're at. I think they need to relax and calm down. But Brandon Beane was asked about, okay, what's next as far as improving the roster? He was asked about the fact that, you look at the Bengals and the weapons that they have. He had a response about the Bengals that some viewed as a dig. And when you just listen to the one tiny clip that a lot of media grabbed and ran with it, when he said, we don't need, he goes, he doesn't want to have to suck that bad to where they get a Jamar Chase, which is basically saying that, hey, to get talent like that, you have to be really bad for a long period of time. This is kind of like what I've said before, why I don't like the current draft format, because you're rewarding bad football. The Bengals won 2 games one year. They got rewarded with Joe Burrow. You win 4 games a year later, you get rewarded with Jamar Chase. We got to stop rewarding bad football. And that's kind of what he's saying, just in not as much of a trolling tone as me, but here's his complete quote about, what's next as far as how they go about improving a roster to kind of compete with some of the heavier rosters like the Chiefs and the Bengals. And you look with the Niners and the NFC and others. Here is Beane, their general manager.
No, they have a good team. They right now are on the advantage of a rookie quarterback contract. And, they had some lean years, and without getting too much into their build. And, I don't want to suck bad enough to have to get Jamar Chase. Like, he's a heck of a talent. I'd love to have him, but you gotta go through some lean years to do that. And they were able to get Burrow 1, and I don't remember where Chase was drafted, but it was pretty high. And those guys are on their rookie deals. We're paying Stephon Diggs a pretty hefty number. We're paying Josh Allen a pretty hefty number. So there is the constraints of the cap, but they have a really good team, and they got some good young players.
So yes, yeah, I was laughing. Bengals fans had a problem with that. They didn't like what he had to say, but there's not one thing that he said in there, Kev, that is not factually true. It doesn't mean that it's impossible to win, unless you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. But however, if you do look, we talk about how loaded the Cincinnati Bengals are. Okay, we talk about how loaded they are. They're loaded because their top 3 offensive weapons are not being paid hardly anything. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow's on a rookie deal. T. Higgins on a rookie deal. Jamar Chase is on a rookie deal. In fact, you combine what they all make, it still doesn't equal what the Bills are paying Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, just those 2.
Right.
He's not making excuses, and he's not whining, or he's not complaining. He's just trying to get people to realize, you want us to improve this. What do you have to do to build up to have the depth that the Bengals do? Well, basically what he's doing is scoffing at the idea that you act like what they did was genius and they went out and bought all these guys. They may not be able to afford to keep them all, as we've spent a lot of time on over the last 2 weeks. I have no problem with what he said. You look how stacked Philly is. Jalen Hurts is on a rookie deal. And this really isn't about a rookie deal. It's about a quarterback that's not making $45 to $50 million a year. That's really what it comes down to, because, the dang Niners have 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them are on rookie deals. One's being paid a lot of money, but not 45 to 50 mil. And even if you have a 35 to 40 million a year quarterback, that's a lot of money left that you can go get a couple key impact players. That's why the Niners have the depth that they do. The Niners aren't working magic over there. They just keep finding ways to win with young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, or quarterbacks who aren't being paid to the max. That's some of the key to their success. Some of the Patriot way. That was Tom Brady not being a top 5 paid quarterback in the National Football League. Sometimes I think we think that these teams have this secret mojo out there. Bengals, what's the secret to their success? They have 3 elite players all on rookie deals. Once those guys get paid, they will not be a bad football team, but they will not be as unstoppable as what they are right now because they're pretty dang unstoppable offensively. My friend and Brad and I were talking last night. He goes, it's almost just that everyone's wide open. It's easy to be Joe Burrow. Everyone's wide open. They're wide open because everyone is doing their best to half-ass cover Chase so that you could still have enough of the other half of your ass to cover T. Higgins and Boyd and Hurst, the spacing of the offense, the quick release of the pass from Joe Burrow. There's just too many weapons to defend right now. And eventually, once that money starts being distributed into these guys, it's going to be like the NBA. It's going to be a duo league. It's going to be Burrow and Chase against Diggs and why am I losing my mind? And Josh Allen. It's going to be obviously Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes against Burrow and Chase. But right now, it's not an even thing. And by the way, it shouldn't be. No one should feel bad. Bengals fans should not feel bad for everybody else. You guys have drafted well. This has been very well put together. So I have no problem with what he said because at the end of the day, the league all evens out. The Bills are just ahead of the Bengals in this rebuild that they're in right now. The Chiefs are well ahead. The Chiefs are just doing a very good job as far as I'm concerned with how they kind of distributed their money. The Bengals will level out eventually, and level out meaning a 10 to 12 win team. Very, very good, explosive, but not super explosive, more manageable. That's why the NFL, it's hard. That's why there's parity. It's because there's 1 to 2 teams. Yeah. There's 1 to 2 teams that appear to be unstoppable. Like, obviously the Niners, because they're deep on both sides of the ball. Same thing with the Eagles, as we talked about. Same thing with the Bengals. When those quarterbacks get paid, it will not be like that. But guess what? The Jaguars and some of these other teams, while their quarterbacks on rookie deals, years behind Burrow and everyone else, then all the talent's going to go to them because they have more money to spend than everyone else. And then it's just cyclical. That's what makes the league fun.
Yeah, it's a couple things about what he said. One kind of rubs me the wrong way just when I hear it from a GM's perspective, simply because, they're got a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's why they got it like that. Well, what you want us to do? You want us to cry for you because you had to pay your very good quarterback? Like, those are the breaks.
Yep.
You finally get a good quarterback, and then you're mad because you have to pay them. So that's always the vibe that I get from these GMs when they talk about like, well, if we had a quarterback on the rookie deal, we'd be able to do more. Like, well, sorry, you have a good quarterback. Now it's time to pay the piper. 2, that's why I was happy that the Rams were able to win the Super Bowl, because it proved that like it doesn't have to simply be one way. No, Matthew Stafford wasn't like a top 3 paid quarterback in the NFL, but he was very well compensated. And so was Jalen Ramsey, and so was Aaron Donald, and so was other guys on that football team. So it proved that, like, look, you can have a roster full of dudes that are going to be wearing gold jackets that are paid handsomely and still win a Super Bowl. So, like, that's where I'm at with it. I just think sometimes these GMs get bogged down in a situation where, like, well, we got to pay people, so we're not going to be as good. Well, it's your job to make sure you draft well and find these hidden gems like Gabe Davis, who's not like an elite wide receiver, but he's an NFL quality receiver. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns versus Kansas City. So it's his job to find said player and bring them in to say, like, okay, if we're going to have a super high paid quarterback in Stephon Diggs, well, we got to supplement them with very good talent in the draft. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix your roster. You have to build it through the draft if you're going to have a quarterback that's paid most of your salary cap. And the other side of it is the Cincinnati Bengals, they hit on their guys. How many teams out there that have been drafted in the top 5, top 10 for year after year after year do it and they miss? Do it and they miss. It's not as simple as like, well, you lose, and now you draft this quarterback and now you're good. No. Some of these quarterbacks come in here and they're no good. Some of these quarterbacks come in there and the system doesn't work for them and they flame out, or the coach is no good, or the organization is just garbage and it just doesn't work out. Sometimes I think these GMs try to make it too simple. Sometimes the stuff just doesn't work out because, hey, man, you drafted the wrong guy, or the guy wasn't as good as everybody thought they were. So for me, I think the Buffalo Bills are in a tough spot because I think they're already conceding defeat, because they saying, well, we're already paying Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Well, if you don't want to pay him, trade him. Because if you want to just be out here and on a rookie contract, then go ahead, trade Josh Allen to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll gladly give you 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, and again, I just viewed it differently because I think the way the question was framed was, how do you combat the depth that the Bengals have in some of these other teams? And that's why he was like, well, hold on. Like, they have depth because they have all these guys on rookie deals. Like, the Bengals, they've done better than anyone else as far as, like, it's one thing to have a quarterback on a rookie deal, and then you go sign A.J. Brown and sign these guys. And by the way, the Eagles did draft Devontae Smith and some of the, like, they've done a good job too. But, like, Jamar Chase was a Pro Bowl. I mean, he was an all-pro wide receiver right off the bat.
Yep.
He wasn't a rookie. He didn't look like no dang rookie.
Remember, he used to drop the ball?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, he did drop the ball in preseason. Preseason's hard, though. You know, Jamar Chase just wasn't cut out for the preseason. It was much easier in the regular season, apparently. People still get mad at me about that to this day. Oh, remember when Kinner said he couldn't catch the football? Well, you remember when Kinner said he couldn't catch the football during the stretch of preseason games that he couldn't catch the football? How are we supposed to know? Most guys don't drop everything in preseason and go on to catch everything in the regular season. That doesn't happen. So, sorry.
I think he adjusted to the ball without stripes.
Yeah. Then he made and I didn't even realize that, by the way, that football was that drastically different. But then he was talking about how, you know, it's an adjustment to the football. It doesn't have stripes. And I'm like, oh, come on, the excuse spell. We didn't have it back then, but my goodness. But no, I have no problem with what he said. And I did like the slight dig of like, well, you know, I'm telling you, I think there is some animosity towards the Bengals too. I think that, for one, Bengals, why is there so much disrespect? Because the perception of the Bengals is they are a joke. And no one can believe that this team is actually doing this. It doesn't sound right saying that the Bengals, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right nationally. And it doesn't, like, to us, it's starting to sound a little more natural because they've sustained this for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even teams around the league are annoyed with the Bengals. They're cocky, they're arrogant, and they also know, look at this roster. For everything I've said, they all say I'm wrong on, they have Joe Burrow because they won 2 games. They have T. Higgins because they won 2 games. They have Jamar Chase because they won 4 games. I know that's how the league works, but I think Buffalo, there's a little animosity there because they got Josh Allen. They made the playoffs and said, we got to get better. And they traded up to get Josh Allen. Then they developed Josh Allen, and then they've developed into this. They feel like they did it the hard way. They feel like we won games and improved our roster. You guys just sucked it up and got rewarded with great players. Y'all don't have to like what I said right there, but that's honestly what happened. And I wonder if what I've said, you know, I always think I live on this island, or maybe I'm just speaking into nothing. But I think that that's playing a role here, Kev. I think that the Bills, there's animosity towards the Bengals about this. Like, hey, we didn't build this the same way. They sucked bad for a long time and they got rewarded for it. We keep winning football games. We don't have the luxury of taking the best receivers and quarterbacks in the draft. We have to give up prospects to move up to get a Josh Allen. Maybe that's playing a role in some of the animosity. I think some of the other teams are having that as well. Hell, the Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. They didn't have to win 2 games to get him. They didn't have to win 4 games to get Tyreek Hill and their elite weapons. Like, there are teams who are jealous or angry, or maybe that's it. And I've come up with this all just right now in this conversation where I'm like, maybe that's where this is coming from. Because a lot of the top teams right now, they didn't tank. There's a reason it's the same teams at the top of the draft every year, because it's not like what the Bengals did always works. Otherwise, the Browns would have won freaking 10 Super Bowls by now. So I don't know. I wonder if there's something there to that there's a little animosity towards them because, hey, they've been rewarded for losing, and here we are busting our ass, and you're going to say, oh, how do you get on the Bengals level? Well, you have to suck really, really bad to get on the Bengals level. And he's saying, we're not going to do that.
I think it's the kind of the opposite. It's kind of like they actually, you know, built through the draft and free agency. It just so happened all their free agents were on the defensive side of the ball, and all their rookies and young players were on the offense side of the ball, and they actually hit because their hit rate on their draft picks is crazy right now.
On both sides of the ball.
Both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Cam Taylor-Britt looks like a hit. I mean, I know Jesse Bates probably is not going to be with the team too much longer, but he was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's one of the better safeties in the NFL. Then you go ahead, obviously, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, like all those dudes are hit. Like, I don't really think there's another team out there that has a hit rate like that. That's almost like Ohio State and 5-star recruits, the way they're hitting on their draft picks out there. So, like, is it jealousy? Is it animosity? Hey, man, sometimes teams get hot. I mean, shoot, how long has the Cincinnati Bengals been mocked for not having a real scouting department? Mm-hmm. Whatever they doing right now, keep doing it because it's working.
All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Appreciate you guys listening, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this exact matter here. Where do you think, because everyone's just mad and screaming. Everyone's disrespecting us. Well, let's get down to it. Why? Why are they disrespecting you? I mean, even the comments from other GMs like this, where it wasn't totally disrespectful, but there was a little jab. Why are these things being said? Why are the Bengals? I mean, think about it, Kev. There was an all-pro vote where all the NFL voted on these things. No one voted for any Cincinnati Bengals. This wasn't a fan vote. Fan votes would have had a lot of Bengals in this. There's the players in the league aren't rewarding the Bengals. The NFL's out to get the Bengals, according to you guys. The Bills kind of took a little shot at you in that. Let's get that. What is it? Because that's my theory. My theory is everyone else feels like, oh, we're doing it the hard way. You guys did it the easy way. What say you? Rather than just scream into the wind and say we're disrespected, let's figure out why. Why do you feel the league and everyone else is disrespecting your Cincinnati Bengals? 518-1410, 518-1410. We'll be right back. We got some college football and basketball talk around the corner as well. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know that over 90% of male enhancement pills are virtually the same thing that's repackaged, redone over and over again? Why settle for the same old product when you can get something completely different? Something that takes male enhancement into the 21st century. Something that really works. Men, you need to try Noxitril, the all-natural male enhancement formula that will unlock your performance in the bedroom to a level you could only dream of. Try to imagine Viagra on steroids. Noxitril is so powerful, that's why it took years for it to finally become available to the public without a prescription. So call now and take advantage of our special Noxitril free bottle offer today. Oh yeah, we recommend that you use the Noxitril dose as directed. Think of your partner. We certainly don't want you to overperform in the bedroom.
Find out how to get a free bottle of Noxitril while supplies last. Call 1-800-239-2869. That's 800-239-2869. Free bottles for a limited time, so call now. 800-239-2869. 800-239-2869.
Need an online notary? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. We can notarize your documents remotely at no charge to you. All you need is a smartphone or laptop. Visit courthousetu.com for more info.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Down the sideline to the 10. It drags a defender in the end zone for a touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba. A 50-yard scoring strike from C.J. Stroud. He'll hit the Purdue 40. Down the left side to the 30. Henderson to the 20 to the 10. And into the end zone goes Henderson.
Don't miss the Buckeyes all season long. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and on 92.9 Jack FM. Go Bucks.
Science proves quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed senses your movements and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's temperature balancing, so you stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those you care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. And now save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed Queen, only $19.99, plus special financing, only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Sometimes the best time to prune trees is when they're dormant or with no leaves on them. For ISA certified arborists, it helps them see what branches may need to be pruned or removed. Dormant season pruning can also help lessen problems associated with insects and diseases and help create structurally stronger trees that can better handle heavy wet snows or ice buildup. Contact an ISA certified arborist to get the best professional advice on keeping your trees healthy and safe. Go to treesforohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
Hi, Greg McAfee here with McAfee Heating and Air. There has never been a better time to start a new career. If you are 18 years or older with a high school diploma or GED and enjoy working with your hands, consider the McAfee Apprenticeship Program, where you will learn everything you need through in-class and on-the-job training. Apply today at mcair.com. That's mcair.com.
Want to make tonight's dinner a perfect 10? Swing by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. With 10 freshly marinated, honey-dipped premium tenderloins, 3 dipping sauces, 2 of our irresistible large sides, and 5 fluffy biscuits, it's family time made from scratch. Take home a top-notch dinner the whole family will love from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. 7 o'clock tonight, the Dayton Flyers on the road at Rhode Island. Archie Miller. That'll be a fun one. I was really hoping I'm excited to see when Archie does make his return to UD Arena, what the reaction is going to be. Because I'm still amazed to this day how many Flyer fans still just pile on Archie Miller. I'm like, I don't know why every time a coach leaves, there always has to be some kind of animosity. I think what it is just a lack of understanding of how things work sometimes, especially with I know you want this, there's this belief that, Dayton should be a spot that you come and you never leave. You just come here and win. And unfortunately, that's just not where, as great of a university as Dayton is, and as great as the campus is, and obviously the arena and the resources and all that, there are, people, no offense, but they don't grow up. Man, I dreamed, from the time I was a little kid, I dreamed of being the head coach at Dayton. Now, Big Ten, the SEC, the big, you know what I mean? The bigger schools, that's just the reality of it. But what Dayton does provide is the fact that if you can't end up at those bigger schools, you're going to get a very similar experience at Dayton. And that's key as well. But I'm just always amazed at the animosity that people have towards Archie Miller. And I'm not saying all Flyer fans are like that, but a very good chunk, at least the vocal minority on social media, that's for sure.
You know the date on that game by any chance?
What?
The return game.
There's no return game this season.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the way the conference schedule broke out. So tonight they're at Rhode Island, but Dayton a 9-point favorite, by the way. They're tough to, and I'm not taking them in the spread on anything right now. I can't, I'll take them to win tonight, but they look very slow offensively right now. But we'll get into that in a moment. We'll get Norm Grevey coming in, former Flyer, coming up here in hour 3. But let's wrap up this Bengals conversation. This is not a trolling conversation. I am not here to have arguments or to get into name calling back and forth with you. But at the same time, trying to figure out, rather than get annoyed, because I've just been very irritated with this whole the disrespect thing, as we've talked about. I'm like, stop saying the Bengals are being disrespected. They're not being disrespected. But you guys actually believe it, so let's talk about it. Why do you feel that the Bengals are being disrespected? Not how they're being disrespected. I know how you think they're being disrespected because the NFL was promoting the AFC title game between the Chiefs and Bills and all this. A lot of Bengals players aren't being given a lot of respect when it comes to these postseason, regular season awards and that type of thing. The national media is not giving the Bengals enough respect and yada, yada. I know how they're being disrespected, but I want to know from you, why do you think they are being disrespected? I gave out my theory that the one reason I think that they are being disrespected from other football teams is because I believe that there is animosity from teams in the National Football League that they look down on the Bengals because they see the success that they're having and they're annoyed and they're irritated because they're getting their ass kicked by the Bengals. But they see Joe Burrow, and what they see is a team that got rewarded for winning 2 games. They see T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and again, they're reminded, oh, yeah, you got them because you won 2 games. They see Jamar Chase, and oh, yeah, after you got T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, you got rewarded because you only won 4 games and you got Jamar Chase. The Bills GM earlier saying that, they don't want to have to suck so bad that they're in position to get a Jamar Chase, basically saying, I think that was a slight shot at the Bengals saying, you only got Jamar Chase because you sucked really, really bad. Right? And I think Kev and I we kind of defer on some of this, but I think we agreed on that. That's kind of like what it sounded like to us. But I think that's where some of this disrespect is coming from, is I think there's animosity in the league. The Bills were a playoff team and then traded up to get Josh Allen. And then they paid to get Stephon Diggs. They feel like they've had to use their resources and they didn't have to swim in the murky waters to go get these guys, that they felt that we were winning and competing and we improved our roster. The Chiefs were already a very, very good playoff team with Alex Smith at quarterback. And then they were able to draft and develop Tyreek Hill, and they were able to draft obviously Patrick Mahomes, who's, about to win his 2nd MVP. The Chiefs fans are like, oh, we're so sick of you Bengals fans. Like, we got these guys while winning. You guys had to suck it up so bad to get these guys. I think that plays a role in some of this amongst other fans and some other teams in the NFL. What say you? I'm not trolling. I'm not trying to get into an argument, but do you think that there's something there to that? And am I missing something? Why do you think the disrespect exists? 518-1410. Kev, where are we going?
Bob, line one.
All right, Bob, how are you, sir? Kick us off in Riverside.
All right, man. First of all, you guys have been making some outstanding points. I think it's very simple. I think Kev hit the nail on the head. I think it's jealousy. And let me tell you why. First of all, what's the narrative of the Bengals? Oh, you got the small scouting staff. You don't have a GM. Well, how could these guys find these guys? How could that happen? How could they find, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt and Jesse Bates and Tyler Boyd? Burrow and Chase, those two were easy, but those are two people. They don't cover the whole team. Now, they are a huge part of the team.
Bob, I'm a Browns fan. They're not easy, though. Like, I know you have high draft picks. They're not easy. They did a very good job. They took gambles getting Jamar Chase. Because if you take a receiver, but you're right, though. You should hit on those. I know what you're saying, but I'm like, they're killing it on every decision in the draft. They are just, they're nailing it. And that's coming from me.
Yeah, but so that's the bottom line. Everybody, when they look at what's the first thing coming? Well, they got Mike Brown. They don't have a GM. Now, we know they have a GM in Tobin. We know he's been running the show for I don't know how long. But the bottom line is he's not named a GM, which is unusual. The coaches shop for the groceries. Everybody else doesn't do that. They don't have a big enough staff. So, of course, you'd be jealous. You're looking at that. How do they do that? How are they hitting on these guys? Yeah, I'd be jealous too, Brandon Beane, with your, you got a scouting staff of probably 50 people and you're not hitting on nobody. So I think a lot of that has to do with jealousy. First of all, let me also mention this. Everybody seems to think it's a foregone conclusion that T. Higgins is going to be gone and they can't keep him in Chase. Well, just from being a Bengal fan, where is it that the Bengals don't put their money at, like a lot of other teams do, like Kansas City did, to the point that they had to get rid of Hill? On the offensive line. The Bengals will never pay no offensive lineman $20 million a year. That is never going to happen.
Bob, real quick, what's interesting is you're right. Like, they shouldn't be winning because they have a small scouting department. They shouldn't be winning because they don't have an offensive line. They shouldn't be winning for all of these reasons that, by the way, they're not crazy reasons. They are valid reasons, but yet they're winning in spite of that. If I'm Joe Burrow, I'm almost concerned that I'm winning without a good offensive line because, man, now I'm never going to get a good offensive line because you're right. They may not invest into it because they're going to say, well, we'll just keep doing this 2.4 seconds release on these passing schemes and we'll just keep our receivers and just have an average offensive line and go from there. But that's a valid point too.
But what you're hoping is that the guys that you do draft, that they develop them, like Cordell Volson. He's a 4th round pick. He's been developing. Most offensive linemen, it takes them a few years. How many offensive linemen really come out of the draft and they're all pro? Very, very few. Most of these guys have to be developed. Jackson Carman, hopefully we'll see what he's all about going forward. If he plays well, guess what? Then, our left tackle now with the bad kneecaps, he ain't going to be there. So the Bengals, from being a Bengal fan, the Bengals put their money, have always, on star offensive players. They will never pay $20 million for no offensive lineman. So that's why I don't worry about the T. Higgins situation. And one thing about the scouting, that if I'm a coach like Zach Taylor, that I think the Bengals coaches appreciate, that they're involved in that. They get to go out and they remember Parcells talked about, why do I have to cook and I can't buy none of the groceries? Well, Lou Anarumo, Zach Taylor, they're heavily involved in who they pick. If I'm a coach, I want that because I want to bring in the type of people that I do. Well, the Bengals have always done that. And so they're a part of that scouting situation after the situation is over. Brandon Beane and all these people, that's where a lot of that jealousy comes in. Let me hit on one quick flyer point because I know you got Norm Grevey coming up, something that really frustrates me. Like the VCU, Anthony Grant's clock management, his in-game management is getting worse. And like I told you guys before, I coached basketball for about 12, 13 years. One of the hardest things to learn is when to call timeouts and when to quit watching the game and really pay attention to what's clock management. It took me about 3 years to do that before I started winning tournaments and things of that nature. Anthony, in the VCU game, first of all, you got a whole team full of forwards. You don't have a point guard. They're trapping you. How about using some of them timeouts? You had 2 timeouts. So you sit there and you lose like a 7-point lead in about 30 seconds because your forwards are getting trapped and you're not using your timeouts. And so Anthony will sit there. The Flyers can have a 15-point lead. He don't call a timeout until they're up 5. It's things like that. That's what's irritating. He's a great recruiter. I'm not saying get rid of him. He's an outstanding. They have so much talent, but when it comes to in-game management, calling timeouts, he's horrible at doing that. And that's the frustrating part, when I look at them. And like Justin, you brought out a great point. With Malachi and them guys, it's going to take a little bit, to get them guys indoctrinated in it. And Justin, about a month ago, you brought out an outstanding point that really the Flyers just work on what you need to work on, because the only way you can get in is win the tournament anyway. So it really don't matter if you lose the rest of them, as long as you win the A-10 tournament. So that was an outstanding point.
Well, you know me, Bob. I'm full of them. I mean, I don't know why you doubt it. I don't know why, Get out pen and paper. Right, Kinder's talking.
Right. You're right. Hey, I put it down, man. It was about a month ago, but you were absolutely correct, man. But all right, man, that's all I got, man.
Take care, Bob. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the offensive line and stuff, obviously, with the Bengals. But, just if you're just joining us, not how you think they're being disrespected, why do you think they're being disrespected? To reset just 10, 15 seconds, why do you think they're being disrespected? Or do you think
I think it's a tad bit of jealousy, and we talked about it on the last segment. Like, the Bengals are hitting on their draft picks right now. If they're mad about that, don't be mad at the Cincinnati Bengals and their players. I mean, you can be because it's sports or whatever, but from the years of 1999 until 2017, the Buffalo Bills didn't make the playoffs. That means they were drafting high. You weren't able to hit on your guys. You had ample time to find a quarterback, find a star wide receiver to build around. Between 1999 and 2017, you didn't make the playoffs. So I don't, if I was a Cincinnati Bengal fan, that's what I would be spitting back at the Buffalo Bills GM. Like, hey, man, we were able to figure it out. You had basically 2 decades to figure it out, and you weren't able to.
We only have want to get to as many of your calls as we can here in the final moments before we get to Norm Grevey. So when we bring you on, just quick back and forth. I want to make sure we get as many of your opinions as possible. I have no problem picking up with this tomorrow because I am fascinated by it. Rather than sitting here getting mad at you guys for the crying of, we're disrespected. Well, let's find out why. Why do you think they're being disrespected? Not how. Because the how is, they're not giving us credit for what we've done. They're not, our players aren't getting these all-league votes. And, the NFL trying to force the AFC championship game in Atlanta between the Chiefs and the Bills. Not how, but why. Because, to be honest, the Bengals, they're a must-watch. Like, they're a ratings draw.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that the NFL doesn't want the Bengals in any kind of prime-time, big-time mega game, that's where I have a disconnect with that theory. Because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, that's money. The Ravens, they had Huntley. The Ravens had nobody. And the Bengals had they were part of one of the highest rated Sunday night football games in the last 10 years. Like, come on. Like, I don't think the NFL is anti-Bengals, but I do see where some of you are coming from. Kev, who we got next?
Larry, line 2.
Milano's Larry. How are you, my friend?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey, first off, the only reason we got Jamar Chase is because Joe Burrow got hurt. Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt that year, we're probably a 500 team, and then we're not drafting high enough to get Jamar Chase. So just
you're a client, so I'll just agree and disagree and be nice to you. How about that? We just agree to disagree. Is that fair?
We have literally been the doormat for 35 years. Like, just let us be us, man. Just like give us a chance here. Like, the best thing about this team, and I think is what kind of makes everybody mad, is we don't have divas. They're cocky, but they're not cocky in a crappy way. They're cocky in they're having fun and they're confident. We're doing our thing. I mean, I know you guys talk about, Justin, you talk about a lot. What are you going to do when you got to pay people? Who knows what the future is going to bring? But what we do know is with Joe Burrow, we're never going to be bad. Like, we're just never going to be bad. The Bengals have historically drafted pretty well, but I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, I remember the time in the 90s when you guys probably weren't even born yet. We passed on Randy Moss twice. Randy Moss. It happens. It is what it is. Be jealous, be whatever. We're just a small market team. We're just making noise. I mean, are we going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I never thought the Bengals would go to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row in my lifetime. I never thought that was. You would have told me that. I'd been like, you're crazy. And on top of that, the Bengals are covered. People are winning money. Come on now, just
That is true. I am winning money. I am winning some money.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, you know, I didn't think of it like that. Money does buy. For any of you out there that say money doesn't buy happiness, you clearly have not been a Bengals hater betting on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm just saying it does buy happiness. So, hey,
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I got. So Houday this weekend. We'll see what's up. Hit me up next week, Justin.
all right, Larry. Good hearing from you. Take care.
All right.
Oh, cut him off. Guillotine, as Schlemmer used to say all the time. But by the way, the only thing I disagree with him on, and it's not a bad thing, because if it's my team, I want them to be cocky. They're not. They're confident, but guys, they're cocky. They're Eli Apple's annoying. Joe Mixon's annoying. Joe Burrow to me is annoying, but that's okay because that's not my team. So who cares what I think, right? Like, I mean, you care, but you don't. Like, if it's my team, the Browns, like everyone, like Browns fans, oh, I love Nick Chubb. He doesn't say anything. He's this, he's that. No, I wish he would drop a shoulder on somebody and stand over him and let him know you just got chubbed. Like, but at the same time, he doesn't do it. That's fantastic. But if he did, so what? You guys would hate it. Imagine if Nick Chubb was cocky. You guys would hate it. You guys would hate it. You wouldn't say Nick Chubb's confident. You would say he's cocky. And that's okay. Let these dudes be cocky. The Bengals aren't going to change their ways because Kenner finds them annoying, if anything. You know what I mean? So your opinion, they're cocky, right? Like, yeah, and that's their NFL athletes. That's what happened. The NBA guys are cocky. Baseball guys cocky.
I could really only think of a couple guys in the NFL that aren't cocky. Like you said, Nick Chubb, Barry Sanders, Steve Largent. Like, it's kind of like a prerequisite to be an NFL player. You got to be outside of your mind to play a sport where you run into other people full speed.
So this is what I want from Bengals fans. Just embrace it. And don't tell me I'm wrong when I say they're cocky, because just say, yeah, I know. That's what I love about him. If Joe Burrow was, if he wasn't cocky, you would still like him, but you wouldn't like him as much. Andy Dalton was not a cocky quarterback. Now you're saying he didn't have any reason to be, but that's what made him boring. You couldn't get behind. You tried to give him a cute little nickname, but it still didn't work.
Red
he's
Rifle.
Boring. I'm just saying. So we have time for a couple more. Kev, who's up next?
We got Jack, line 3.
What up, Jack? How are you, sir?
Yeah, pretty good. I think you all have probably answered the question for me. I don't know if the adjective is disrespected or not, but the Buffalo GM wouldn't have had his comments had Buffalo won the game. Those comments are sour grapes. That's all there is to it. The Bengals have not drafted well until recently. Yeah, their drafting is improved.
Oh, you got us there for a moment, Jack. You had me and Kev look at each other like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But you were right until recently, so continue.
Yeah. Just think back. They drafted Jermaine Gresham one year in the first round at tight end.
Oklahoma.
He quickly earned the nickname Stone Fingers. Guess who were on the board? Guess what tight ends were on the board and were taken in the next 3 picks? Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham. That's how bad the Bengals drafted at one time. Awful. It was putrid. It's improved dramatically, and they've been consistent losers, doormats in the past. All of a sudden they're winners. And yeah, there's some jealousy, no question. I don't know if disrespected is the right word or not, but I think we got to relish it while it lasts. The defense has a lot to do with it. 21 takeaways in December and January the last 2 years. 21.
That helps.
They've caused them. Very few have been accidental.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals defense has caused them. And without a terrific defense, Burrow wouldn't be getting the accolades he's gotten, because they wouldn't have advanced this deep in the playoffs 2 years in a row. No doubt about it. The defense has been a savior. It's been phenomenal, and it's helped make the offense what it is. I mean, they won a lot of games with what? A couple touchdowns and 3-4 field goals. Think of that run last year. What did McPherson have? 12 field goals in the playoffs?
You're making somebody over here smile real wide over here, Jack.
Your logic was considered me being a hater last year, but no, you were. Look, the bottom line is, no matter how great Joe Burrow is, moving forward, Joe Burrow is only going to get better, but if he doesn't have a defense to complement his offense, they're not going to make it. So although it may sound like an insult that, he only got that far because of the defense. Well, yeah, all the teams, all the quarterbacks, all the talent that's this far in the playoff right now, they're only here because of the defense. You have to be well-rounded on both sides of the ball and special teams, of course, as well. But Jack, normally we'd give you a lot more time. We're just up against the clock, but I appreciate all your points. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good stuff. I mean, valid. I still don't have a problem with what the Bills GM said. I think a lot of what he said is right, but that dig, that dig. We don't want to have to suck to get a Jamar Chase. If you take that out, everything he said was 1,000,000% spot on, but it's that one little slight, it was a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Almost,
Yeah. I remember Coach Tomlin, I think it was is when the Steelers were like, I want to say 12-0 or 11-0 that year, that they were the worst undefeated team of all time. And ultimately they lost to the Washington Commanders. And they had Chase Young. And after the game, or prior to the game, Coach Tomlin walked up to Chase Young. Is like, man, I don't want to have to be that bad to draft a guy like you. You know what I mean? Like, coming from, I understand what Coach Tomlin is saying, and I understand what the Bills GM is saying. Like, in order to get a player of that caliber, you have to be drafting extremely high. That means your team was extremely bad the previous season. So I understand what he's saying. I get what he's saying. He's absolutely right. But obviously he wasn't the GM back in 1999 all the way up into 2017. But whoever was the GM, I'm sure there was multiple GMs in that time frame, they weren't able to get it done. And that's just one example of a team that wasn't able to get it done for multiple years, drafting in the top 5 and top 10. There's a ton of teams out there that aren't able to do that. The Bengals happen to hit on their dudes. Their dudes are working out.
Go Browns.
Where'd that come from?
I just felt like it was needed. I complimented the Bengals a lot. It was just kind of came out of nowhere. My bad. No, good stuff, guys. Appreciate all the calls. There's a couple of you on hold that I want to get to. Packers fan Tim. Packers fan Tim, how are you, sir?
Hey, real good. I'm going to be real quick, Justin.
Be real quick, but I just want to apologize. You've called a few times and you've been left on hold, but I apologize. We're going to get to you soon, though.
Hey, I'm dry. Oh, am I on now?
You're on now, but just want to make sure I apologize to you. But yes, you're on. Just make it quick.
Don't worry about that. Hey, you know what? You had me laughing so hard the other day when you said nobody knows better than Bengal fans how hard it is to get to the playoffs. And just seconds later, you said nobody knows better than Bengal fans how hard it is to win a playoff game. I've agreed with you so much this season. I disagree with that because you know who knows it's better than Bengal fans? It's Browns fans.
Well, I thought we were all on the same club for a while. They've kind of left us behind, but appreciate you, Tim. Thank you. All right. Sorry for all the guys we couldn't get to. Appreciate all of you. Tomorrow, I promise we'll have more time to take your calls, but I want to talk some Dayton Flyers hoops. The Flyers on the road tonight at Rhode Island, coming off of a tough loss over the weekend. Can they put that loss behind them? And people getting a little impatient with UD, but I'm here to tell you that it does. I mean, that loss stinks, yes, but the point is they're healthy. Even if they would have won this past Saturday, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is they got Malachi Smith back, they got Elvis back, they're getting these guys back. That this roster now that they have moving forward that they're working with, this is the roster that put them in position to have top 25 expectations, to have at-large expectations. They only lost that not because they're not a good basketball team, not because of Anthony Grant, not because of a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing and hearing, phone calls, social media. They lost that because they were hurt. Hit the bell. There we go. Excuse spell, but it's the truth. They got hurt. That's the only reason all those expectations went out the window. So now the only expectation moving forward is between now and the A-10 tournament, get healthy. Get healthy, win some basketball games, get it going, win the A-10 tournament, and then go take all the expectations that they had on them heading into the season and prove why that was the case come March Madness. We'll talk about that. Norm Grevey, former Flyer, he joins us next.
Shop limited time deals at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. Save big on your favorites across the store. During this event, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Plus, find the perfect floor tile for your home for less. Get up to 50% off select styles while you can. Head to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the Truckload event today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowes.com for details. Discount taken at time of purchase.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Science proves quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed senses your movements and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's temperature balancing, so you stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those you care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. And now save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition smart bed Queen, only $19.99, plus special financing, only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Did you know that 3 Ohioans are diagnosed with oral cancer every day? Dentists are doctors of dental surgery and can recognize life-threatening conditions and treat oral diseases before they become serious health complications. Ohio Dental Association member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care. Ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Dell Technologies provides growing businesses with the tools to do incredible things. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Hour 3. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I do appreciate everyone on social media, live on Facebook, the Justin Kinner Show. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, follow the show page if you haven't already. And those who do, I beyond appreciate all the interaction in the comment section. And then the phone lines, of course, interacting with you through calls. That was a lot of fun today. It was nice having a Bengals conversation without it turning into a screaming match, although I disagree with some of y'all. But it doesn't matter. Your team's in the playoffs and my team's sitting at home, so it don't really matter what I think. But the bottom line is we'll get back to this Cincinnati Bengals talk on tomorrow's show when we talk about all of this. I know some of you are a little upset with me. Look, bottom line is what I said was true. The Bengals got rewarded with Joe Burrow because they won 2 games. They got rewarded with Jamar Chase because they won 4 games the year after that. That's what the Buffalo Bills GM was saying, is that, hey, like, for us to get a roster loaded like the Bengals, we would have to be really, really bad. We don't want to suck to have to get a Jamar Chase. That's what he was saying. It did sound like a shot at the Bengals. I'll give you that. But even though it was a shot, he wasn't wrong. You know, they made the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor, traded up the year after to get Josh Allen, and then they won football games and signed Stephon Diggs. They didn't have to lose a lot of games to build their roster. I think that's why there's some animosity towards the Bengals, but we'll pick up with that tomorrow's show. I want to talk with, of course, joining us now in studio, my guy, Mr. Norm Grevey.
Hey,
Mr.
Justin,
Norm
how
Grevey,
are you, buddy?
I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I think tonight will be good medicine for Flyer fans.
Good medicine. You know, sometimes, after coming off a tough loss against George Washington over the weekend, like I said earlier, if this type of loss happened, like let's say injuries never happened and this team was still in the top 25, at-large hope still, right there, that loss really, really stings on Saturday. But right now, you're getting guys coming. At the end of the day, you can be negative and talk about the loss, but I'm like, but the roster's getting healthier. The roster's getting healthier, and if you want to have a chance to live up to what those expectations were coming into the season and top 25 and at-large, the only way to prove that was not that was not just a false narrative is to get healthy and then make a run in the A-10 tournament and then end up getting where you were supposed to get to anyways coming in. It's tough though, because I know that loss. It's been a weird up and down couple weeks because they played great against VCU and then crumbled in the final moments of that ball game. And then they rebound with a big win against Davidson. And then instead of building upon that great rebound win to put it behind them, now you get this weird head scratcher of a loss against George Washington. And now they have another one on the road tonight at Rhode Island, reuniting with Archie Miller.
Yeah.
Very interesting game tonight. I'm very curious to see what Dayton team shows up, walks out on that floor tonight, because it's mentally draining right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they rebound.
Well, right on, point on. I think the key is that over the last 3 games, we haven't played our best basketball, even against VCU. In that second half, we were not in attack mode, and VCU controlled that tempo that whole second half and won that half, kept it close and did what they did. You look at Davidson, I thought we came out flat against Davidson and had to have a good second half to win that game. And then we played two poor halves against GW. So really, the last 6 halves of basketball we've played, 40 minutes, we've only played 2 good halves. So I expect tonight will be much different. Obviously, Rhode Island is down this year, but they have 2 good guards from DC that can put up points, and that anything can happen in college basketball. They've won 7 games. They played LaSalle and to OT, which doesn't sound much, but LaSalle really outplayed St. Louis on Saturday when I was watching that game, even though they lost. The league's dangerous on the road, but I think Dayton, the key for them is to get the rotations going. We're finally healthy now. Okay, somewhat. You got Kobe Elvis coming back, first game back against GW. I thought everybody did not have their roles against GW. We could sit here and talk all day why they lost, but I think that was the first game they really had their health back. The substituting and all that, there was just not enough cohesiveness to have your role. And I think Rhode Island's a game. What to expect out of that is we're going to be subbing. We're going to be letting guys play. He's going to try to find a rotation here. We now have our 10 deep now, which is fantastic. The key is to get a lineup out there that can shoot the basketball. And that's why I think Kobe Elvis, when healthy, is going to add so much to this team. Because he can create off the dribble, and he's the one guy on the team outside of Malachi that can break the defense down. Everybody else, that's not their role. That's not their game. So you're going to see the offense get better, and it just has to get better, Justin, period. We're not going to win the A-10 championship scoring 62 a night and putting that much pressure on our defense. We've got to get better at shooting the basketball. We got to get the guys draining shots. We got to start breaking defenders down in the half court and get out in transition more. I think you're going to see us get out on. We had 5 points in transition, Justin, against GW in an up-tempo game, and that's like 2 baskets, I would assume, out of the whole night. So we got to get, I would assume, with more depth now, we're going to start pressuring the basketball a lot more. And I think the defense, even though it's withstood the test of time this year, it has to improve. And I think with Malachi playing more and getting his legs under him, you're going to see us being able to hawk point guards like we haven't been able to do all year long. So, kind of a disappointment on Saturday, of course. The goal is still the A-10 title. It's still in reach. You went out, they still control their destiny. They win the next 10 games. They at least tie, for the A-10 title. So that goal's still in reach. You almost feel like you're dormied in golf, though, where you're down 2 holes with 2 to play at a match play event.
No golf talk when it's snowing out, because then I get the itch to go golf.
Yeah, man.
It's depressing. But
I wanted to bring that up.
Good to say.
They're not dormied yet.
Yes.
But it would be great if VCU could get hicked up. They play, I think, George Mason tonight, and I think that's an interesting game. George Mason's underrated and always plays. To me, I think they play VCU well. So a lot of games left. Good medicine tonight. Hopefully we can get Duran back on and start nailing some shots and getting the rotation going. And I think the sky's the limit still.
So and the thing about Malachi Smith that's interesting. So, and again, this is not me saying that he's the problem. He's not the problem. But some fans have questioned, okay, they're not blaming him either in any capacity. But you start looking, you talked about you're not going to win a lot of games in the A-10 or go on a deep run in the A-10 tournament, putting 60 points up on the board. But you look at before the injury, the loss against UNLV, they lost 60-52, only putting 52 up. They beat Robert Morris, they only put 60 up. The loss against Wisconsin, that was not a
in the 40s.
That set basketball back. If you that was a bad offensive day between both teams against the Big Ten. You love the Big Ten, but 43-42. So then he's out after that, and then they start scoring, in the upper 60s into the 70s and 80s after that, and then comes back, and then we see that 60-point performance again. I'm not saying it's him, obviously, but what are they doing differently when he's on the floor, a part of that offensive rotation? And then when he's out, what are they doing that's leading to more up tempo? You would think it would be more of a flow offensively with him on the floor, but that hasn't been the case.
Well, that 7-game win streak, we had Mike, obviously, Schaumjamps was playing the point guard and did fine, but was able to see over defenses. Malachi, we played, I thought, tougher teams, to start the year out. I don't think he was fully healthy to start the year out. He had re-injured his ankle in the right after the blue-white game, so he missed and he was out a lot already before that injury. In the summer, he didn't play much, so he's been dealing with this ankle thing since the Richmond game a year ago. Obviously, not at 100% down in the Bahamas, at least athletically, conditioning wise, but I think we have to, I think we can play. I'd like to see Malachi eventually get to 30 minutes and Mike 10 minutes is where I'm at on that.
And less minutes for Mike.
Yeah, by maybe a lot of minutes. I think you got to run the show with Malachi and let him be the man. He's the leader of the team. He's our best defensive player on ball. We just got to turn the keys over to him. And, Mike did an admirable job in his role, but he's not a lead guard for us right now. He's just a freshman, struggles to shoot the basketball, can be turnover prone like any freshman, but he's a great passer. Excuse me. And I think he can really, he's a great post feeder into the post. He controls the pace for Anthony like he wants it. But I just think the keys are ready to be, if he's ready physically, just hand it over to him and let Mike be the 6th or 7th man.
Because he's going to have like a minutes cap on there. Obviously, you're not throwing him out into the fire right off the bat. You're going to limit, his minutes will probably be more tonight than last Saturday, and they'll probably gradually increase. But that's always a tough thing as a coach to manage when you're when you're in a funk and you have to be responsible with bringing a player back off injury. But that, okay, it's going to throw the rhythm and timing of the offense off from, throughout the game, because even like, let's say you start getting on a flow. All right, we can't let him play more than what he's already played. We got to get him off of there. That could put a jam on the flow of the game. So this is just going to be that weird wonky time where they're trying to get minutes to get these guys back on the floor to get their conditioning back, but that could mess with the flow of the offense. I agree with you. I don't think that that's what this is going to be moving forward as far as the stagnant offense, but it could be what we see for another game or two until he does get that conditioning back. I'm not saying they're going to lose tonight, but
maybe
that
by
could play
Richmond,
a role.
I think I can see him turning the keys over to Malachi by the Richmond game. I think he'll probably still go with he might. It's hard to say. I think the other key too, Justin, though, is the 2-guard spot. All right, you got Kobe Elvis coming back, who started and controlled that position all year and did great at that position last year. And I think it's just a game or two maybe before he's entered into the 2-guard spot. And then you have Kobe Berea coming off the bench as your 6th man for the guard spot. Then that leaves you Blakeney, and that leaves you Mustafa Amzil and Duran Holmes and Tamani Kamara. Those 4 guys playing 3 spots. And then if one of the bigs get in foul trouble, you bring in Zimi, Wakeji, and who I think's done well. I think he's done well. He played 2 minutes the other night. He gives him some rebounding. He gives him a little athleticism. He's starting to get his confidence back. So, we're 10 deep, and, I wouldn't be surprised to see all 10 play in the first half and give guys some runs. But it will be key to see what Umzil's role is, because he's had a very good year this year, and he's been quiet the last 3 or 4 games, and that's probably why our team has been quiet offensively. I also think Berea, who's a tremendous shooter, I'd like to see him every night hit a couple of threes. It can't just be 4 one night, cold the next. And I'm not criticizing, because he's a heck of a shooter, and he's a 40% career shooter. But we need 3-point shooting every night.
Yep.
Every night. We're not going to the dance unless we shoot the ball better and we score more points. Forget about the defense, because we've got to be more efficient.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that concerned me a little bit about George Washington is you have Kamara and Holmes out on that floor. We could talk about the offensive struggles, but and I know I forgot the guard's name that Washington has, that Bishop. He went off like 27, but talk about the offensive struggles, but like a guard should not get into the paint as much as what he was able to do, especially with, what the length of UD is really what's been shutting down teams all season.
Absolutely.
I thought George Washington got way too comfortable in really attacking. They only took 14 threes. Dayton took 27 threes. George Washington only hit 5 of 14 from behind the 3-point line. They were really getting a lot of high percentage looks.
Well, they were breaking
looks.
us down on screen and rolls, and that guy was just shaking and baking and going left.
There. He's good.
Going left all the time, and he was the leading scorer in the A-10. And I told my brother, who's a scout for the Hornets, I said, well, he was at one of the games at GW watching Duron Holmes, and I told him on the phone, I said, hey man, they got a guard that's leading the A-10 in scoring. It's never easy in GW. Anything can happen in that gym.
And it did.
Lo and behold, the guy looked like AI out there.
It's like, and it wasn't a coincidence too with Dayton in town that was their that was their highest attended game of the season, by the way.
Right,
so,
and defensively, we did not play well against VCU down the stretch. They posted us up. They were getting wide open threes. There was miscommunication on the steal that Mike threw. No one picked up ball. So, and that guy had hit 5 threes before that. We should have had 5 guys running at that Shriver's kid.
Yes.
And he had a 2 dribble pull up without any contest. The defense has to get better, but I'm not worried about the defense because I think we're only going to get better defensively. Lose a little length that's the other thing. Length of Mike is great. Yeah, teams drove at him, but he could contest shots very well and rebounded very well for a freshman point guard. So, but Malachi will give us that energy, and I think we can get our swag back tonight and just start clipping games one at a time.
All right, Justin Kinner, former Dayton Flyer, Norm Grevey with you here. Norm Grevey hangs out with us every Wednesday in the 5 o'clock hour, talking all things Dayton Flyers hoops. Of course, Norm Grevey's visit here today, presented by Wealth Management Group in Springboro. I don't know if you're familiar with that company or not, Norm.
That's my company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it. Yes.
Financial planner in Springboro, and this is my 30th year in practice, 13 years as an independent financial advisor. So always feel free to look me up down there, and
that's what you do.
We'll talk hoops and we'll talk investments.
All right, good stuff. We're going to step away for a few moments. The Flyers in action tonight at Rhode Island, Archie Miller's Rhode Island team. So we'll talk about that coming back and kind of reminisce about those teams during the Archie Miller time. And look, it's kind of fun to see Archie Miller again, but it won't be as fun as when we see him come to the arena for the first time.
And they'll have a good crowd there for him.
Yep.
So the fans will be there for Archie tonight.
That's for sure. So we'll talk about that coming up. Plus, we got some conversations about Duron Holmes around the corner, getting you set for Dayton, as, of course, they're coming off that tough loss against George Washington. Can they rebound with a win against Rhode Island? We'll get to all of that coming up. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Former Dayton Flyer Norm Grevey with us in studio. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be cloudy and windy with showers, a high near 40. Tonight's going to be cloudy with a wintry mix, a low near 30. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with snow, a high near 32. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Hey, Ohio, Justin Kinner from the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash with you here to let you know that the wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is now live in Ohio just in time for the NFL playoffs. And new customers in Ohio can get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Kinner, KINNER. Finally, you can bet on all of your favorite sports with everything from the money line to point spreads to player props or my personal favorite, in-game parlays. So go ahead and win some bucks in the Buckeye State, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund is belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Who are you? I'm you from the future. What do you want? I want to tell you about Dave. Dave has your future money. Spend it on whatever you need. With extra cash from Dave, you can get up to $500 instantly with no interest and no credit check. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC.
Did you know that 3 Ohioans are diagnosed with oral cancer every day? Dentists are doctors of dental surgery and can recognize life-threatening conditions and treat oral diseases before they become serious health complications. Ohio Dental Association member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care. Ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes, you'll know what's affecting your gas mileage and more, and you don't have to drive too far to find the fix. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service is available at all 6,200 stores.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
See details at AutoZone.com.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Former Dayton Flyer Norm Grevey with us live here in studio. You're listening to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Norm Grevey. Norm, always appreciate you doing this. And Dayton Flyers coming off, of course, of that tough loss against George Washington this past weekend. It kind of up and down, little stretch right now. That tough loss against VCU, the counter with the big win against Davidson, then lose to George Washington. They have a chance to get it right again, though, tonight. They're on the road at Rhode Island. It's going to be an interesting one, of course. A road game, yes, but it's the first time that they'll be going up against their former head coach in Archie Miller tonight, a 7:00 tip-off.
Be great. It's good for the A-10 to have Archie in the A-10. I think he's a great coach. and did wonders here at UD. And I thought his little interview he had, you can find it on Twitter. He said a lot of good things about the program, but he did say that's been years ago in his life, and he's in a different place and trying to instill a lot of the positives that he had at UD, 4 straight NCAA tournaments. I do think at the end, I think his recruiting became sluggish. At the end, he wasn't developing a bench. That one year we had walk-ons.
Yep.
But he's a great bench coach. I thought he was just an incredible bench coach for his age, and he'll turn Rhode Island around, I think, in his sleep.
Do you think that stretch you talked about recruiting towards the end, do you think that he always had his mind made up that was going to be that final year after the Scucci and Pollard class? And that's always tough too. When you have coaches like that have plans, like knowing that this class, I'm going to see this class through. Like, and some people, Flyer fans don't like that, and they get angry. But like you're right, you could just tell like the recruiting wasn't as aggressive down the stretch. He had some guy. I think he had
and he became even more. I mean, he was pretty non-visible coach and just basically disappeared.
Yeah.
And none of the coaches. I don't think you need to be that visible here. You need your privacy for sure at any Division I college or university. But Archie was a very quiet man, and Anthony's very quiet. They're very similar, in a way. But I do think Anthony has taken the recruiting to a new level with Obi Toppin and then what the New Yorkers that we have in Malachi and the New Yorkers that we have in Kobe Berea. And I may be missing others, but, internationally, he's been able to bring in, Amzil, Tamani Kamara from Georgia, recruiting coup of outside of Obi, and Brian Roberts, I would guess, Chris Wright, Brooks Hall, of our big time recruits that we got.
Do you care? What do you, where do you stand with the, again, so being an Ohio State football fan, I remember Ohio State fans drove me crazy because Urban Meyer was just bringing in this ridiculous talent to Ohio State. But everyone's like, yeah, but he's not recruiting Ohio. Why isn't he recruiting Ohio? And I'm like, I don't really care where these players come from. Whatever players are out there on that field, as long as they're winning games and putting us in position to win. People got so caught up in the Urban Meyer's lack of aggressiveness and going after Ohio kids. I'm not saying Anthony Grant's not aggressive in going after local or Ohio kids, but I kind of like the approach. Some don't like that. I'm like, just go get the best players possible. I don't care if they're the best players from New York, the best players from Ohio, the best players from Georgia. I don't care. Where are you with that? Should there be a balance of that? Or do you think that there's too much to be made about that?
Probably too much to be made of that. I think it's all fit for certain coaches. Trey Landers was a special talent coming out of town and wanted to play for Dayton from the get-go. Ryan Mikesell, the same thing. There hasn't been many great players that fit that need as Trey Landers or up north, we tried to get the Lucas Frazier kid from Cleveland. He's
George
an Ohio
Washington kid from
he transferred, and he's not even. I don't even know if I think he's playing D3 or out of basketball now. But he just wasn't ready for this level. The one guy at Youngstown State that's scoring. He was an Ohio kid.
He was from close to Cleveland. Yes. Why am I drawing a blank? He dropped 40 on Wright State not too long ago. We talked about him last week.
Right.
But yeah, so
everybody knows who we're talking about. And then, to make a long story short, I think it's not a big deal, Justin. People here just want to win the right way. And we have been, but I think, having the NCAA tournament canceled really, was unfortunate for the brand because we don't know how far we would have gone. I think we would have gone really far. I talk about it all the time. We were a 1 seed. Probably were going to play in Indianapolis for the Final Four, and it would have been unreal. But, you can't live in the past. You got to move forward. But that would have been a big, big thing, elevator for the recruiting. That didn't happen. But we still landed, because of that run, we still landed Deron Holmes, who I think is a tremendous player. And that was a tremendous recruit to get, from Arizona. That was just amazing. I think Anthony's done a great job, and the wins take care of itself. Just like at an even higher level, like Kentucky Coach Cal just wants to bring in the best players and see what happens. Eventually you're going to have that group that's going to gel, and eventually you're going to make that big run. Like Kansas, the way they won last year was amazing. And in this year, balance in college basketball has never been more balanced. Every year it gets even more balanced. There's not a dominant team. There, even Kentucky last year pretty much dominated part of the year. Tennessee dominated part of the year. Kansas dominated part of the year. Gonzaga, we don't have any of that right now.
Yep.
Okay. None of those teams this year are at the level of those teams last year. There's a lot more balance. That's all because of NIL, transfer portal, the way the draft's set up. All these guys going, many guys right now, first round, 30 draft picks, only about 14 of them are in college basketball today, period. The rest are international guys, and that's where it's limited to. That's what it's got to now. It's never been harder to play in the NBA, even though there's a lot of avenues. There's more avenues, whether it be overtime elite, college basketball, the G League. There's more avenues to be financially secure, but it's still as hard or harder than it ever has to play in an NBA game, period.
And by the way, you're listening to the Justin Kinder Show. Kev Nash, Norm Grevey with us here in studio. It's going to be interesting to kind of see what this game brings up tonight. Again, talking to the Dayton Flyers, going to be on the road at Rhode Island, talking about the Archie Miller. First time they've gone up against their former head coach. We'll talk about Deron Holmes coming up in a moment. You talked about the NBA route. We'll get to that here shortly. Last thing on Archie Miller, I like this matchup's interesting because of that. Yes, I think it'll be even more when Rhode Island comes back. And I may have asked you this in the past. I can't remember if I have or not, but when Rhode Island with Archie Miller, when they do come to the arena next season, when they announce Archie Miller, head coach of Rhode Island, 13,000 fans at UD Arena, are we going to hear a mix of boos and cheers? We're going to hear more boos, cheers. What do you think we'll hear, and what should we hear? Two different questions, of course.
Well, I think we'll hear cheers because he didn't leave in a bad term. He left to upgrade, and I think people knew Archie wanted to go to the next level, and everybody accepted that. He had a great run here, but just like Brian Gregory, he had a great run here.
Did you think he was going to leave, Archie? Like when that was announced, was that like, oh my gosh, he actually
I was not surprised that Archie left. I was surprised he went to Indiana, but I think he was ready to go to the next level, no doubt.
Did you have an idea of back then, Norm Greavy's thinking, I could see him going to this school. I mean, Ohio State was always rumored, but then Thad Matta ended up resigning months after that hire, which then Chris Holtman takes the Ohio State job. But I think a lot of people, without me having any inside track anywhere, I thought Ohio State was kind of always that rumored spot where he would have ended up.
Right.
But yeah, that was an interesting time. I was just amazed at how many people thought he was not going to leave Dayton. That's not disrespect to Dayton, but it's like you could just always get the vibe Archie was on a track.
Well, what hurt Archie, the pandemic year wasn't great for him.
That was actually his best year.
He could have had a run in the tournament.
That was actually that would have been his only tournament year.
Well, he had a lot of these guys that are seniors on that team were freshmen.
Yep.
Their All-American center was an Archie Miller recruit. But the one guy that went to Celtics, I forget his name, they put a lot of recruiting efforts in an Indianapolis kid that didn't pan out. He still went to the NBA. It was one and done, but there was talk that he was going to be, a godsend. And it just didn't pan out for him. And that affected his recruiting at Indiana, how that went down. And it was just kind of an uphill battle. It was a grind. The league's tough. I mean, you've heard me say things about
a lot of championship contenders in there.
And let me tell you, that league is so balanced. You take Purdue out, and you have 10 teams that are deserving of an NCAA bid. I know how my feelings are with that. But, yeah, that league is deep as it's been in years. But it's very top heavy with Purdue. And then I think you have a lot of decent basketball teams, and all those teams that are in the Big Ten hunt, that are 4-4 would be 6-1 in the A-10 in my eyes, or 7-0.
We'll step away for a few moments. On the other side, we'll talk about Deron Holmes. Last time we talked about Deron Holmes' dominance, especially during that big win streak that the Flyers had. But, by the way, his struggles over the last couple of games, still double-doubles and still 14-10 and all that. But, what has changed over the last 3 games. Our teams, how are they approaching game planning for Deron Holmes? We've seen Tumani Kamara have some of his biggest games during this stretch. I don't think it's a coincidence that his biggest games are coming while Deron Holmes are having some of his worst games. That's nice to have that depth, but I'm curious, Norm Grevey's thoughts on Deron Holmes and the development of him as the season has progressed. And do we think it's the final season of Deron Holmes with the Flyers? We'll close out with that conversation ahead of the Flyers matchup with Rhode Island. Coming up, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
O'Reilly Auto Parts provides more than just the right parts for your repair. Our professional parts people can also offer free check engine light diagnosis. We can scan your vehicle and provide a list of possible fixes. Find the right parts for you or recommend a great local repair shop. Don't ignore your check engine light. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At Staples, you can count on every project being print perfect, guaranteed.
I need presentations and brochures printed, and they have to be perfect.
Your bounded presentations, brochures with the finest folds, and more will be done right every time. That's our Print Big promise. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more, plus 20% back via store bonus. Try Staples and see the difference. Ends 2/25. Rewards members only. Bonus must be redeemed in store. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Make the big game sound even bigger with your new TV and sound system from Audio Etc. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom today and experience 8K TVs and projectors, short throw projectors from 100-inch to 130-inch, all the way to your high-end dream system. Audio Etc has tons of new inventory in stock, while everybody else is back-ordered or out of stock. Get special deals on a TV and your dream system today. Audio Etc can bring any big game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. If you can't afford your dream system, check out our huge selection of vintage and pre-owned components. Audio Etc, powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. 551 Congress Park Drive in Centerville.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
Cordell Transportation is hiring third shift dispatcher / customer service representatives. Excellent pay, great benefits, no experience necessary, and paid training. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com or stop in today at 2942 Boulder Avenue in Dayton. Equal opportunity employer.
The all-new Chevrolet of Troy is now open. What are the advantages of shopping at Chevrolet of Troy? Selection has never been better, with over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles available. We always accept employee and supplier pricing, and we make financing easy. Customer service is our top priority. We care about you, with thousands off MSRP, a full-service state-of-the-art dealership, and huge selection. Make Chevrolet of Troy your first stop today. 1375 South Market Street, and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Norm Grevey with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Norm and I actually during the break, we were just talking about the TBT and the fun we had calling those TBT games over the summer.
Absolutely.
For one, so that was actually our third year of doing that. The first year we did it here in the studio because that was the COVID year. That was 2020. Kind of a unique opportunity. They sent in some monitors and we had the remote feed, and then we broadcasted the game live through the remote feed, which was unique. And then the next year was at the Covelli Center in Columbus. That was the year Kendall Pollard came back. We got to see him, and of course, and then obviously this past year, finally got to call the games at the arena, which is really, really neat. I'm not saying they're not, but I haven't heard anything about whether it's coming back to UD Arena or not. I really hope so. I'm a big nostalgia type guy, and I just think that there's nothing cooler than seeing some of the guys that, everyone's cheered live at UD Arena during the winter cold months, and then seeing them reunite again to try to chase a TBT championship. That was a lot of fun at the arena. But that's what we
made a great
about.
run, and that Friday night game we talked about was what was spectacular. The arena was rocking, and then they had to come back the next day and had a tough loss to the eventual winner. They lost to the champion.
They knocked out Jimmer Fredette and company. That was actually one of the more entertaining games of that whole run. That was a Friday night game, I believe. It was pretty packed in there. That was fun. I don't know if it's coming back or not. I hope it is. UD did a great job with that. But hopefully we'll get them back again.
Hopefully we get them back, or we'll be at the Covelli.
Yep. A lot of basketball going on right now. Of course, your kids are active in basketball as well. Yeah. Springboro, correct? What's that?
Springboro.
Well, you follow high school basketball here in the Miami Valley. What's kind of caught your eyes?
Well, Centerville and Coach Cups and Gabe
Centerville's
Cups.
good.
Centerville.
Do they have a cup? I thought they were bad. I didn't know they were good.
No,
Centerville has something special right now.
Yeah. No, they're one of the better high school dynasties, with Gabe, tremendous coach, and they just are dominating our league. And they're a team that's going to be, a contender for sure. Them, Pick Central, Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary. There might be a Cincinnati team, but I think Centerville is phenomenal. I watched the kid for Wayne, Laurent Rice, who's going to Murray State. He's phenomenal basketball player.
He had a lot of schools looking at him. I know that.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He's a good lefty, can shoot it, do everything. 6'4" guard, skinny, good player.
Having about 24 a game.
Yes.
Yeah, he's leading the GWAC in scoring.
Springboro's had a little bit of injury bug. I think we have a fantastic coach and Coach Brian Bales, who coached Luke Kennard at Franklin. We're just kind of
when did he go there?
This is his first year there.
That's a very nice guy.
And
I love
Springboro's
Brian.
7-10, I think. But we've been in a lot of games. We're kind of hit a little mid-season wall. But my son Chase is having fun, and they got some good players, and they have some very good players. And we just had a little injuries, but I think the program's going in the right direction. I'd look at the GWAC in Miamisburg. They have a great coach and Coach Freeze. They're very dangerous squad. Northmont is a dangerous squad up here. The league's very tough, but Centerville just dominates it. And then Cincinnati, you've got Sycamore, very good team. Elders, very good. Moeller's down. Fairfield out of the GMC. So those are yours. And then Alder in Division II, Dunbar, Fenwick. I've coached with Coach Holwiger at Fenwick. This is his second or third year, I think. Great coach. really building that program. Kelvin Moss at Middletown's building that. So there's tremendous high school coaches. Talent level is very good, very good. These teams scoring, I don't think teams score nearly enough, whether it's college or, Dayton's only scoring 60. I played on a team that averaged 90.
Funny, the NBA, they can't miss anything, and everywhere
it's
else
different in the NBA. They're using a 3-point line. I don't think high school and college use the 3-point line nearly enough. Shot clock.
Of course, you would say that. I mean, if Schlemmer was here, he would just
he would kill me.
Oh, I don't know why I just got the Schlemmer presence in here. Hearing you say, I don't think they shoot it nearly enough. I'm like, that's all I heard about you back in your plays.
Oh yeah, but you got to play defense too.
And that would have been his second point to make.
Unfortunately, there's that.
Deron
Holmes.
Yes,
on Deron.
On to Deron. And so Deron Holmes, by the way, he's not played poorly. But there was a stretch where, he was in upper 20s and 30s. And, this USA Today mock draft comes out, has him as a first rounder. I'm not saying that he's not or that anything's changed. But the last 3 games, as Dayton has struggled, I don't think it's a coincidence that as he has struggled, Dayton has struggled. The one thing that's been kind of unique is that Tamani Kamara, his numbers have gone up. That VCU game, I remember Kamara put with 27 and 10. He had like 15 points in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of that ball game.
Right.
Deron Holmes struggled. He did get some points later because as Deron started heating up, they had to stop doubling Kamara, and then they kind of, then they started sending they started sending the teams towards Kamara, and then it just kind of got interesting at that point. Are teams playing Holmes differently right now? What are you seeing with how teams are kind of preparing for Deron Holmes, and your thoughts on how Kamara is kind of stepping up too as defenses make their adjustments towards him? Again, the second time through the league a little bit too.
Right.
It is interesting seeing the differences in how teams are adjusting to him as well.
Very good point. Great topic. I think Deron's had a fabulous year, and I think Tamani's played great, period. He's just been awesome. I think Tamani needs to shoot the ball a little better, but he has an NBA body. And then Deron, teams are really coming after him right now with double teams. They're trying to be physical. They're trying to have him post up off the block. He needs to get deeper on his catches. He's catching it, and he wants the ball, and he's a great kick outer. He passes out of the post extremely well, finishes at the rim. His improvement at that has been probably his biggest improvement. I think the NBA wants to see him become even more of a defensive presence. The Flyers lead the league in rebounding, and they have the best front court in the league. There's just no debate about that. That's why I say we have to become better at shooting the basketball. 32% from 3 is just we're not going to win the championship at 32%. That's just not going to happen.
Teams are almost like saying, hey, we'll give up. We don't trust you behind that 3-point line. We're going to pack it in. We'd rather put all our efforts into taking every comfortable, spinning to his left or his right, or they're going to make his life hell down below. And then if that leads to open threes, then so be it, because they just don't respect it right now.
We need to make teams pay for that. Yep. And I think Kobe has done that all year, but I want to see him get more consistent. And then adding Elvis, who's a very good 3-point shooter, very capable, and get into hot. I think he's going to stretch the floor. Zeal's done a good job at shooting the 3 this year, and he needs to stay active. He still needs his minutes. I like the big 3, and then going small with the guards right now, and having Blakeney coming off that bench versus having Blakeney play the 3. No offense to RJ, he's our best defender. He and Malachi, but I take that back. Tamani Kamara has been our defensive stopper, even though he didn't play well defensively against George Washington. He's done a great job at playing any 1 through 5. Versatility defensively, the NBA guys like him. He has an NBA body, and his upside is his scoring ability. If he can continue to improve, because he is, even though his percentages don't show it from 3, his stroke's there. He's got a stroke that can go in, and he just needs to continue to play with confidence. And I like his confidence level. And, turnovers affect Tamani a little bit more because he's trying to attack more. He's limited his turnovers most of the year, other than the VCU game was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah.
Where he had 9 turnovers with 27 or 29 points and 15 rebounds, whatever it is. So they have the best front court. They play well together, and he has to keep attacking. And that's our strength, is inside. That's why we go inside every time down the court. Our weakness is right now is our field is just not shooting well from deep. And I think that'll improve as the season progresses, as the guys get more healthy. But that's been an Achilles heel for us. We haven't been able to maintain big leads because teams start doubling and we're missing open shots. We become impatient late in the shot clock. You're not going to see that with Malachi. Malachi can break the defense down and create better looks from their perimeter players, and he can do dish downs to the bigs. And that's something, no offense that Mike, that wasn't his specialty, breaking the defense down. Mongolian Mike. His game is patience, post feeds, length on defense, passing. Malachi is going to have to get into the paint, so look for that tonight and free up the bigs a little more, where they just don't have to score back to the basket. They can get it facing the basket on a screen and roll. Yeah,
catch and go.
We
up
need
and
more
score.
Screen and roll buckets, more lobs. Because Duran's getting beat up on that block. We're giving it to him 15, 20 post feeds a game, and everybody knows what he wants to do, and he's getting a double team. He kicks out. We're neither taking the three or we're not. We're impatient, and we swing it, and we're not getting penetration. And I think as penetration improves with Malachi, that's going to make everybody better offensively. It doesn't show up on the stats with him, but I think when he's leading this team and he's push and go, and he has the keys, Dayton is a much more well-oiled lube machine than what you see now.
And this isn't a shot at the guards that they have right now, but man, it's like you think back, what made Obi Toppin so dominant was, yes, his talent, but Jalen Crutcher, and what made previous bigs, not at NBA level bigs, but you think of the success that guys like
Brooks and Keith Wallace. You had an in and out. I had a
Pollard
Miguel
with Scucci,
point guard, and we had Anthony Corbett inside. We had shooters, on the wings.
Yep. And I feel like that's what Duran's missing, is that, so not a shot at their guards, but he just doesn't have that Scucci. He doesn't have that 1-2 that could just play off those high screens, or just the IQ level of the guards too, of just even the skill set to just be able to get him the ball in key spots.
Kobe Elvis can play that combination guard very well.
Yeah.
And we've lacked that all year. His injury has been every bit as impactful as Malachi. And I think the sky's the limit when they're healthy and when they get their rotations down and they can string off a few wins. Saturday is going to be sellout crowd, by the way. Hard to even find tickets online. I'm going to attend that, and that's going to be rocking and rolling. And I'm going to hit Tim's afterwards.
I'm sure you
celebrate.
Will. I'm sure you will. Now, keep in mind, after this matchup tonight at Rhode Island, the Flyers, as you just talked about, return home on Saturday for a big one against Richmond. Then they have Loyola less than a week from next Tuesday night. They have Loyola at home, and then they hit the road for two, St. Bonaventure and at VCU. VCU. I'm sorry. Wait, yeah. I'm sorry. Then St. Louis, Loyola, Massachusetts. So UMass.
We need to win every game to VCU. And we need to hope VCU loses one of those games. I predict tonight.
I forgot VCU was at home. That's why I read that. I was looking at this. Wait a minute.
Plays at VCU, but we go to VCU next, and we still have St. Louis twice, and I think we play them on their senior night.
Then you got Loyola.
And by the way, St. Louis is playing better.
Yep.
They won 2 games last week, beat LaSalle, and just mauled them in the second half. And LaSalle can score. I'm getting more impressed with St. Louis. Those guys are starting to play a little better. And Coach Ford is an extremely competitive coach. And he reminds me their system's very similar to Dayton Flyers and Anthony Grant. It's like watching two mirrors. I think their point guard, Jerry Collins, reminds me a lot of Malachi. Their bigs are stocky and strong, just like UD's. And they have Gibson Jemerson, I think his name is, their shooter. We have our shooters. That they're going to be a tough out. And VCU with their speed, I think we're more talented than them, Justin, but their speed and their havoc and their belief of 40 minutes of basketball is going to keep them in every game. And, the conference tournament is going to be tough because you got to win 3 at least. And you're going to have to go, hopefully not through those 2. Hopefully you get the 1 seed. And you don't have to face those VCUs and SLUs twice to win the bid.
All right, good stuff. Norm Grevey every Wednesday. Norm, appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, and go Flyers.
All right, Dayton and Rhode Island tonight, 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, and hopefully we're talking about a few Flyer wins by the time 3 games between now and when you come back in next week. Hopefully we're talking about a little 3-game win streak for the Flyers. All right, folks, that wraps it up for us here today. Appreciate Norm Grevey as always. Big shows lined up for the next couple of days. We got former Bengal Pac-Man Jones coming on with us tomorrow. We'll also hear from a couple Chiefs beat writers. We'll catch up with them. Keyshawn Johnson coming on the show with us next week, as is Max Kellerman and Jay Williams. So we have a stacked lineup over the next 10 days on the show. Excited. Of course, fun time of year. NFL playoffs. Maybe the Bengals get to the Super Bowl again. Flyers season heating up. Wright State college basketball. All of our favorite teams in action. So good stuff. Till tomorrow, it's the Justin Kinner Show. Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.